Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 4 of Live with Friday Night Drive. Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie, who has returned for yet another week of what looks to be some pretty exciting high school football. We're keeping up with scores from around the area as well as around the state. Steve, we've already seen some scores that have been happening, and it's been, well, I mean, I think some of them are to be expected, and it's already starting to look like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a busy week. Some big matchups in the Catholic League, some other games around the state that are very intriguing in week 4.
And speaking of really good games, we're actually we've been paying attention to St. Charles North and Batavia. St. Charles North and Batavia, obviously a big, huge game considering what happened last season as well for week 9. Right now, that is at 21-14, and we actually have a clip of of Batavia scoring a touchdown from Ryan Whitwell, making it a 21-14 lead for Batavia.
Here are the 5.
It looked like some really nice blocking there too on that touchdown run. And and Steve, like, this is one of the bigger rivalries in the state of Illinois that just does not seem to disappoint year in and year out.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that you feel like heading in is going to be one of these back and forth contests that are going to come right down to the wire. Certainly looks like we're setting up for that again today.
Yeah, and it was one of those things too. We just, like, when we're looking at it, we're like, I really don't know who I could pick in this one because they're so evenly matched. Very good, two very, very good football teams. We do have some other scores from around the area, especially with looks like the Fox Valley Conference. Huntley is up 14-13 in the second quarter over Prairie Ridge. We also have the last time that we had checked, it was Jacobs over Cary Grove, 7-0, and that was in the first quarter. So we are keeping up on that as well. Looks like we have a halftime score from Dundee Crown and McHenry that just came in. Dundee Crown up 7-0 in that one. And let's see, what else do we have? We also have DeKalb and Mattia Valley. That was at 7-0 the last time I had checked, and that was in the first quarter, although it might have been, looks like actually DeKalb is up 14-7 with 2:35 left in the second quarter. We also have, last we checked, Lena Winslow was up on Dakota 22-0 in the second quarter. Crystal Lake South and Hampshire were tied at 7 apiece. And there's obviously another big game, actually, Steve, Mount Carmel and St. Rita. How's that one looking so far?
Yeah, Mount Carmel just took back the lead. They lead 14-7. A long touchdown pass from Darian Dupree from Jack Elliott. A little bit more passing from Jack Elliott. He's already got 2 touchdown passes in that game. So Mount Carmel up 14-7 over St. Rita midway through the first quarter. Update on that Cary Grove Jacobs game. That's at half now, 14-7 in favor of Cary Grove.
Okay. Yeah, very nice, very nice. With that Mount Carmel St. Rita game though, is that a bit? I mean, I know Jack Elliott can do a little bit on the ground. He can do something through the air. Are you surprised by I guess those stats so far, like 2 passing touchdowns early?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, having seen Mount Carmel early in this year, they tend to really kind of let their running game set up their pass. But the one thing that I did notice in that opening game against East St. Louis that I saw is they really like to use Darian Dupree as a receiver as well. He got loose for, I believe it was a 72-yard touchdown reception in the St. Rita game tonight. So having a weapon like Dupree that they can use in multiple ways, I'm sure they're going to try to deploy him that way as much as they can.
So also want to take this time to thank SGK Our Law, who is one of our awesome sponsors for the show. And thank you very much for that. IC Catholic and Nazareth. I know that was another game that we were keeping an eye on, especially with both teams. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk of IC Catholic and obviously Nazareth that they've struggled so far this season, but what do we have for that one?
It's 7-7 right now in the second quarter in that one. IC Catholic started the scoring, went up 7-0, answered by Nazareth. IC Catholic got a big defensive stop late in the first quarter. Actually, Nazareth had drove the ball inside the 5-yard line, and IC Catholic stopped them on 4 tries from there. So 7-7 right now. That's a game that obviously IC Catholic would like to get it, but I think Nazareth is in almost desperation mode right now, having lost their first 3 games of the season. So falling to 0-4 with their remaining schedule would be pretty close to disastrous. So a big game for Nazareth, I think more so than IC Catholic.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll keep you updated. Keep you updated on all these scores as the night goes on. We also have a last time that we checked for Ottawa and Sycamore. Sycamore was up 14 to 0. And I think that was in the first. That was in the first or the second quarter. Looks like we have Lockport, who just returned an 82-yard kickoff for a touchdown. That is now 14-0 in favor of Lockport.
Actually, it's 14-10.
14. I'm sorry, 14-10. I definitely,
Yep.
Yeah. Then I just got through reading the rest of the tweet. Eagles answered back with a 37-yard field goal, and that is now at the end of the first quarter, 14-10 in favor of Lockport.
A couple more Catholic League scores for you right now. St. Patrick leads St. Viator 7-0 in the first quarter, and Carmel holds a 7-0 lead over Marmion. So some interesting games both there in CCL purple action.
We'll take a look at some other scores that are going on right now. Looks like Oswego and Joliet Central. Oswego is having themselves quite the season so far, and right now it's in the third quarter, but it is 48-0 in favor of Oswego. I have to. Are you surprised? Are you surprised by Oswego's success so far?
Well, now I'm getting used to it, but at the beginning of the year, if you would have told me after the 3-6 season that Oswego had last year, that was kind of a total deviation from what you're used to from that program, I would have said that a potential 4-0 start, like it looks like they're going to, probably wouldn't be in the cards for the Panthers, but they have played very, very well, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. So one of the pleasant surprises so far of this season. But if you look at their history, maybe it's just getting back to the norm for them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely one of the tougher programs in the state, in the state of Illinois. And yeah, I mean, so right now, again, 48-0 in favor of Oswego. We just got an update from Dan Wuso, who is out covering Sterling against Galesburg. Sterling just got through scoring a touchdown. Looks like Joseph Holcomb took it from 2 yards out, and that is his third touchdown of the game. Sterling is up on Galesburg 28-0, and that one is still in the first quarter.
Yeah, Sterling, another one of those teams that I think really needs to kind of get back on track. They're sitting at 1-2 right now, and not something we would have guessed after 3 games from that program. So that's very interesting.
And let's see here. So also one of the more closer games of the night so far is Bradley Bourbonnais and Lincoln Way East. So it looks like Bradley Bourbonnais are they down 10-3 or
Lincoln Way East is leading that game 10-3 right now.
Okay. So yeah, is that how, are you surprised at how close that is?
Well, it's been a game over the last couple of years that has kind of been a dogfight, and you wouldn't have expected that. Based on the way that Lincoln Way East usually comes into those games, and they are again tonight. They come in as undefeated. Bradley is undefeated too at 3-0, but their schedule has been not that strong to this point. So looking at this matchup on paper, you weren't really sure if Bradley had what it took to kind of hang with Lincoln Way East, but they're doing it again. I mean, 10-3 here at halftime. Lincoln Way East is having a little bit more trouble imposing its will than it usually does.
And they don't. Does Lincoln Way East? Do they have anybody? Is anybody out tonight? I don't think anybody.
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything along those lines.
Okay, yeah, and yeah. So for Lincoln Way East though, how do you think they look so far? I mean, I know that they've obviously had some really good success, but I feel like how like coming into the earlier into the season. Now we're in week 4. How do you feel about Lincoln Way?
Well,
East?
They have a blueprint that they like to lean on, and it's usually very defensive based. Kind of pound the ball with a running attack into submission, but the offense is a little bit different than you're used to from Lincoln Way East. They have a very experienced and talented quarterback in Braden Tischer, who kind of guides that offense. And the running game hasn't really quite found its footing yet. So it's kind of a different blueprint that Lincoln Way East is working against. And At times it's looked really effective, and then at other times it seems like maybe they get bogged down a little bit. So this might be one of those situations. Bradley has an experienced defensive unit. They might be making Lincoln Way East work a little bit harder than they're used to.
So shifting gears a little bit here too, because obviously, we read another pretty close score. It was Lockport and Sandburg at 14-10. Going back to that one, actually, is that surprising?
Sandburg, is an interesting team. They've got some talented players. They've been capable of making some big plays on offense, but they've been giving up a lot of points. So you kind of never know what you're going to get when you run into Sandburg. So right now, them hanging in there with Lockport, a little surprising to me. But when they did hit, they hit for another big play tonight. So their touchdown was scored, I believe, on a 70-yard plus pass. So Lockport is doing a really nice job this year on both sides of the ball, but they've also got themselves into quite a few games where they've really had to kind of grind out a victory. We might be heading towards another one of those here.
And keeping up with some more scores here, we actually have from Rob Osterly. We have a 32-yard touchdown pass from Chase Hefleich to Austin Roswell. So Lincoln Way West is up on Lincoln Way Central 14-0 with a little under 3 minutes left in the first quarter. So
yeah,
is that surprising?
Yes, that is very surprising. Last week, Lincoln Way West lost their contest against Belleville East. And also lost their very experienced starting quarterback, Cole Crafton, for the season. So that's a backup quarterback right now guiding the Lincoln Way West offense. He did pretty well in week 1 when he was filling in for Crafton again, but now that's his job. So he's doing a really nice job, obviously, for the Warriors, who, to be honest with you, I thought would be in a little bit of trouble tonight against a Lincoln Way Central team that seemed to have a big old ball of momentum at their back. So a big non-conference win for them last week over O'Fallon, coming into that game at 3-0. So that's very interesting.
All right. So we actually have we got our first check-in with one of our reporters. It's Alex Kantecki. He is out covering Cary Grove and Alex, what's going on?
How's it going?
We're good. We're good. How are things by you? It sounds like you've got a pretty tight game over there.
Yeah, it's 14-7. Cary Grove's leading Jacobs at halftime. Jacobs was up 7-0 with 3:04 left in the half. So Cary Grove scored their last 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes.
So how did the momentum kind of shift there? Because I know that the defenses were, really going at each other for the majority of the first quarter. I understand it was scoreless, but how did the momentum shift a little bit?
Yeah, Cary Grove's defense started getting after the quarterback. They had a big sack to push Cary Grove back to their, maybe 2. They had to punt. Cary Grove got the ball at the 36. First play, their big fullback, Logan Abrams, goes 36 yards for a touchdown.
Okay, I have a feeling we're going to be hearing that name quite a bit.
Yeah, he's a big kid, 6'3", 220, I believe. He might be a little bigger than that.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. Well, Alex, thanks a lot for checking in. We hope you enjoy the rest of the game, and maybe we'll check in again with you after final.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. So Logan Abrams, I just feel like is a kid that you're going to be hearing about for a while. And I think majority is because of the size and the speed. The combination of everything. 6'3". Over 200 pounds in that Cary Grove triple option offense is that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. And that's just once, Cary Grove did not make the playoffs last season. They did not have a season that you're accustomed to from that program. It looks like the train's back on the tracks right now for them. So, they are doing a really nice job. They've played some strong games so far. I've been really impressed with what they've been able to do defensively, and they're doing it again tonight, kind of keeping a team that potentially can score a lot of points fairly in check.
And speaking of a team that also has a very good defense, well, 2 teams that have a very good defense. Joe Stevenson is out covering Prairie Ridge and Huntley, so we'll get him in here to talk about that. Joe, how are things going? Sounds like a pretty close one.
I want a better game. This game isn't good enough. It's I have the number 9 team in 8A Huntley, 14 the number 1 team in 5A Prairie Ridge, 13 at halftime. It was a high snap on Prairie Ridge's second touchdown. They tried to tuck it down and run, and they were unable. But yeah, this has been a great game, guys.
Yeah, I mean, so what? I mean, has either team? I know that it's 14-13, but has either team been able to move the ball pretty effectively? I know Braylon Bauer had a nice touchdown pass, but it sounds like Prairie Ridge is able to is able to run the ball pretty well, given they have 13 points.
Yeah, a great pass from Braylon Bauer to Zach Garifo, 68 yards for the touchdown. Prairie Ridge really hasn't run it as we're accustomed to seeing Prairie Ridge run it. Huntley's defense did a pretty good job, 121 yards on the ground for the Wolves. A great finish to the half. Prairie Ridge gets the ball on an interception, runs it back, gets a personal foul, out of bounds hit, and so they get their drive down to the 1, and they were out of timeouts. They sneak it and didn't make it. Joey Vanderweel, the quarterback, they tried to line up real quick, and he tried to spike it, but he forgot that it was 4th down. So that's the way the half ends, on the 1-yard line, with Prairie Ridge a chance to go in ahead at halftime. So great game here.
Yeah, just it looks like all around. It looks like you got quite a competitive contest there. Is this kind of the mold that you were expecting this game to be played at, Joe?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's kind of what we're expecting. Both teams, playing, pretty good defense. Huntley looked really good on offense for a while there too. Braylon Bauer hit his first 9 completions, which going back to last week, that would be at least 20 completions in a row. I'm not sure what he did at the end of week 2, but he was 11 of 11 last week, and he made some nice throws. And then Prairie Ridge came up with a couple of nice stops, and great ball game.
All right, well, Joe, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It sounds like, again, you've got a great contest on your hands there, and maybe we'll be able to check in with you after.
Will do.
All right, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. All right, so I mean, it seems like it's definitely what we're expecting. Both programs incredibly tough. Huntley being in 8A and Prairie Ridge being in 5A this season. Definitely something that you would expect. By the way, so R.E. Duchesne Construction is a licensed and fully bonded exterior contractor serving Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties. R.E. Duchesne has an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. You need to call 815-722-2821 for all your home improvement needs. Financing available. Check them out on the web, reduchene.com. So again, live with Friday Night Drive, I'm Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie. We are keeping up on all of the scores around the area. Steve, do you have any updates for us on some of the games you're watching?
A couple of Catholic League updates. Darion Dupree in with another touchdown, this time a rushing touchdown. Mount Carmel leads St. Rita 21-7 at the end of the first quarter. I believe, if my count is correct, Mount Carmel is well over 200 yards of total offense just in the first quarter. So obviously the caravan rolling a little bit tonight. One that I just got an update on that surprises me a little bit. Midway through the second quarter, St. Lawrence holds a 14-3 lead over Providence. That's a little bit surprising to me. Providence coming in this game at 2-1. But they have had some offensive issues. They've been getting a lot of points from their defense, special teams units. But it looks like, at least so far tonight, that magic has eluded them. So St. Lawrence up 14-3.
Okay. Well, there you go. We also have a halftime score, Sycamore and Ottawa. Sycamore is up 42-0 in that one. I want to say, I don't know if this is very surprising, but given the success of Ottawa, for the start of the season, were we expecting a game like this, 42-0?
Maybe not quite that wide, but that conference, it's kind of if you're coming at Sycamore, you got to step that effort up quite a bit. And obviously, so far tonight, Ottawa hasn't been able to match that. So that's a conference that has been ruled by Sycamore and to a lesser extent Morris, and the other contenders in that league really have to bring in an effort to have a chance at getting them.
And speaking of tough conferences in the Duquesne, it looks like St. Charles North and Batavia. St. Charles North was going to. It looks like they were gonna punt. It got muffed, and then it was an interception. Running into the kicker called after all of it, and then Plum to Medital for a 16-yard touchdown pass. Looks like 28-21, but Batavia is leading with 44 seconds left until halftime. So Jake Bartleson is out covering that one. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to him for a little bit once his game reaches halftime. Again, just a very, very much back and forth game between these two teams, and something that is not very surprising. You definitely expected.
Yeah, another scoring update from a game that is turning in an interesting way. At the end of the first quarter, Lincoln Way West still leads Lincoln Way Central 14-0, but Lincoln Way West is driving again. We'll start the second quarter at the Lincoln Way Central 7. So it looks like they're going for some more points. So Lincoln Way West, it's clicking on all cylinders for them thus far.
Looks like we have a touchdown for Johnsburg, as just reported here by Tim Frolig. Brett Sentnarowitz with a 1 yard run of play after AJ Bravieri hit Carter Block on a 45-yard pass play. AJ Bravieri having a fantastic season. Johnsburg is up 12-7 with 9:50 left in the second quarter after a blocked extra point. It just sounds like typical Johnsburg. I mean, as for where they are right now, just a lot of pass heavy games, and AJ Bravieri is obviously a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, hoping to respond, bounce back a little bit from last week's loss. These are the kinds of games, as they look ahead, they have to get these if they hope to get back into the playoff field. So a good start for them, a good setup. Another score that we just got updated out of that conference: Richmond Burton holds a 20-0 lead over Sandwich in a battle of two 3-0 teams.
Okay, so we now have looks like we have an update here for halftime. We have Jake Bartleson, who is with us covering the St. Charles North Batavia game. And Jake, well, you know what? Look, I responded to one of your tweets earlier today saying, well, if Jake is going to be there, I imagine it's going to be a crazy game. So this doesn't seem to be any different.
What's your
yeah, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome, just making sure. 28-21 Batavia at the half. This was pretty even first half. It got a little wonky there towards the end. I mean, it was one of the longest half-ending drives that I've seen for a while. At least 6 or 7 plays straight with a penalty on either team. Batavia in control, but St. Charles North not going away.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't sound like it. Well, Jake, I appreciate the update here. We want to get one of the other guys for their game, but we'll try to check in with you afterwards. But thank you very much for the coverage. We'll talk to you later.
Take care, guys.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're going to bring Eddie Carifio in here as well. He is out covering DeKalb and Mateo Valley. So, Eddie, how are things going over by you?
This game turned wild quickly. And before we get into that, I just want to apologize, Mr. Steve, sir. I'm very sorry about last week. I thought you were a substitute. Please don't mind my japes now that you're the permanent host.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, this is what's gone insane. Just the last 2.5 minutes, back-to-back kickoff returns for touchdowns, turn a 14-7 game into still a one-score game, still 2:11 left. DeKalb puts together a drive in less than 2 minutes, covers about 70 yards to get a third score in the last 2 minutes of the half, and we've got ourselves a 27-14 slugfest here between DeKalb and Mateo, with the Barbs getting the ball to start the third quarter.
So as far as DeKalb goes, has there been anything that's really stood out as far, I mean, it sounds like they've gotten some pretty big plays, but yeah, has there anything else that's stood out to you for today?
Yeah. Despite the big plays, obviously, of the last 2.5 minutes or so, very much they've been a lot more methodical than they have been on their drives. Mateo Valley too. Mateo Valley is just every one of their drives, aside from a 3-and-out where they didn't score, every one of their drives has been 12 and 15 plays, keeping the pace of the game going pretty quickly here. But DeKalb has been able to match them with some time-consuming drives. They've also benefited. Mateo Valley has committed 3 pass interferences on Devon Grant on third. I believe all 3 were on third down plays. including the last touchdown for DeKalb there. Sitting right by the Mateo Valley coaches. They vehemently disagree with all three calls. My eyes aren't good enough to make a judgment from this far away.
All right. Well, Eddie, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you once this goes final. So enjoy the rest of the game.
Okay. See you guys later.
Thanks, Eddie.
All right. And we were talking about that halftime score with Ottawa and Sycamore. We actually have Brian Hoxie, who's going to be joining us as well. So Brian, it sounds like Sycamore is okay. We don't have Brian in here anymore? Okay, sounds good. Either way, so we'll just go ahead and continue. By the way, Sycamore is up on Ottawa 42 to nothing. We'll go to the chat here actually. And by the way, for these streams, we always appreciate that, how engaged everybody has been. It looks like we have somebody, C-Rob 309, who is asking no more 11 p.m. to 2 a.m.
We'll get back there eventually. We got some changes coming in, but not this week, but hopefully in the future.
And by the way, it looks like he has a C-Rob 309 also has an update for us as far as that score from Normal Community. I know you said that there was 57 points that are combined for this game so far, and are we even at halftime with that yet?
Yeah, I don't believe that game is at halftime quite yet. So 42-22 right now in favor of Normal Community. Normal Community has been so impressive to start the season, especially on the offensive side of the football. I don't know, like the comment is asking about them in the 7A semifinals. It's a conversation I'm willing to discuss now, and it's something that I probably wouldn't have thought as a viable option to start the season.
So C-Rob 309 also saying here, Peoria will be lucky to be 6-3 and will be a first round exit in 5A. Book it.
That's interesting. I mean, you do have to consider where, they're in 5A, and that sometimes that class opens up pretty well for them. But, it's been a little bit disappointing for Peoria to start the season. That's for sure, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They have been giving up considerably more points than they're accustomed to doing so.
And it looks like we do actually have Brian Hoxie, who is here with us to talk about Sycamore and Ottawa. Sycamore up 42 to nothing right now. So, Brian, it sounds like a pretty one-sided contest at this point.
Yeah, it has been. Sycamore won the toss, took the ball, scored. They've scored on all four of their possessions, and they have an interception return and a punt return. And defense has only given up 91 yards. So, definitely one-sided, unfortunately, I guess, if you're an Ottawa fan.
Yeah. So has there how did this all start though? I mean, did the momentum start shifting as soon as the game started, or was there a certain play or series that really got the scoring going?
Both Sycamore's first two touchdowns were, medium to long drives and ended with 28, 29-yard runs. And then the defense has just stopped Ottawa from doing anything they want to do. Like I said, the interception, return, touchdown, and then I think the other three possessions for Ottawa ended up in punts. Obviously, the one return for a touchdown too. So it's kind of like one of those games where one side everything's going right, and the other side nothing's going right. But sometimes that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brian, thanks a lot for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the game, and yes, thank you for your time.
Okay, take care, guys.
All right, thank you. Again, live with Friday Night Drive, Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie. By the way, just want to thank another one of our sponsors, Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce, dining, carry-out, and catering available. Locations in Rock Falls, Sterling, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try the original Chicken George today. So far, we've been on here for about a half an hour. And has there been anything that has really stood out to you so far in any of these games?
Well, one of them that has really jumped out at me is now Lincoln Way West has stretched that lead to 21-0 over Lincoln Way Central. Definitely not something that I was expecting to happen. And another one in the Southwest Prairie that's kind of drawn my attention at this point. It's in the fourth quarter now. Joliet West holding a 14-10 lead over Plainfield North. That's a little bit surprising me. We talked about this a little bit last week. One division tends to dominate in those crossover games between the Southwest Prairie, but Joliet West is potentially on the verge of getting 2 wins in those crossover games. And I'm not sure that's ever happened since they went into the crossover situation in regards to the Joliet West program or any of the teams in that division winning 2 of those crossover games in the same season. So if Joliet West can finish that off, that would be a huge win for them.
And I know we've been keeping up on the Mount Carmel St. Rita game. We actually do have the clip where Darion Dupree, he has the touchdown that made it 21-7 in favor of Mount Carmel. So we'll go ahead and watch that from Darion Dupree. So that was, again, Darion Dupree with a touchdown that made it 21-7 in favor of Mount Carmel over St. Rita right now. I do have to ask. I understand that Mount Carmel is Mount Carmel. Are you surprised at all at how far behind St. Rita has fallen at this point?
Well, I mean, they struggled last week in the first half against Joliet Catholic as well. I'm not really sure if maybe that's just a thing. It takes them a little while to get going, but Mount Carmel's kind of a different animal. It was one of those things when you look at it, these are 2 teams that you could argue are probably in the top 10 rankings wise in the state, but Mount Carmel, I think, has separated itself in a significant way from just about everybody else. I think, and as far as who's going to be able to match up with them, I think we might have to wait all the way until week 9 when they play Loyola, to be completely honest.
I was going to say, I didn't want to necessarily like jump the gun, or I didn't want to skip too far ahead, but I have it's just that when you think about this, especially after last season, Mount Carmel and Loyola, like, yeah. Is that the main thing right now?
Yeah.
You know
right now, it just looks like they're separate from the rest of the Catholic League right now and where they're at. I'd lean towards Mount Carmel right now, but it's always a good game between those 2 programs. You almost wish that it would happen before week 9 because it kind of takes some of the attention away from that game because everyone's so concerned about how the playoffs are going to sort out that game kind of gets lost in the shuffle. So I wish they didn't play that game in week 9. I wish they'd give us that resolution a little bit sooner. But it's a very right now, I think there's a pretty distinctive division between those 2 schools and the rest of the league.
Absolutely. So we also have Downers Grove South, who is playing tonight as well, and looks like Will Potter had a touchdown that made it 13-7 in favor of the Mustangs. So we'll go ahead and bring that up for you here. And that was Will Potter for Downers Grove South. Is that one surprising at all at how close it is right now?
Not, I mean, a little bit. It's one of those situations with Downers Grove South. They started the season with a very difficult schedule. They're 0-3 right now. This is a really pivotal game for them to kind of get themselves back on track. The schedule's a lot more favorable for them in the second half of the year. So getting a little bit of momentum here tonight, getting a W, kind of getting things rolling back in a positive direction is a big key for them.
And we have another game. We have another game that's incredibly close, as we were talking about. It was 14-13 in favor of Huntley. Now, when we were talking to Joe Stevenson earlier, Joey Vanderweel was actually he was stopped just before the half in order to get what would have been his third touchdown. His third touchdown of the night, and it's a great defensive stop by Huntley that we actually have for you as well. Kind of looked like a bit of a. I think Joe was talking about it. It was a little bit of a botched snap, and which did not let Prairie Ridge really get into much of a rhythm to get a touchdown before half. But again, that one is at 14-13. The last that we had checked, Huntley was going to receive the kickoff in the second half, which should be starting shortly. We do have Cary Grove and Jacobs, which is still at 14-7. And it looks like there was actually an interception. This is reported from Alex Kantecki. There was an interception for Jacobs. Justin Gonzalez took it all the way to the Cary Grove 10-yard line, but then the Trojans defense holds up, and it's a turnover on downs. Again, not something that is surprising because of how tough this Cary Grove defense really is.
Yeah, and once again, showing those signs early in this game, trying to set themselves up to, this is a game that's probably going to come down to the wire, and possessions like that could turn out to be something that you kind of forget about in the moment, but later on, when you look back at it, a stop like that can almost propel you in a real positive direction moving forward. A couple of Catholic League score updates. Fenwick leads St. Francis 7-0 in the second quarter. Carmel is now up 14-0 over Marmion. And Marion Catholic leads De La Salle 14-6 in the third quarter. IC Catholic just scored a touchdown to go up 14-7 in the second quarter over Nazareth.
So given, I have to ask this actually, because first of all, in regards to Carmel, obviously with the conference they're in, it's incredibly tough.
Yeah.
But how are they looking though, Carmel? I mean, because I know that I'm not sure, is their younger quarterback, is he playing, or
he's not playing that much?
Okay.
He's playing, but he's I want to say he's probably got a 25% share of the snaps right now. And that might be a little exaggerated on the estimation, but based on the stats that I've seen, they have a senior quarterback that they like that is getting the majority of the snaps, but they do use him in situations where they think like they have an advantage by doing so. So he is playing. I think he's playing a little bit more regularly on the JV side, but from what I understand, it's about a 75-25 split with him. For Carmel, it's one of those weird situations because I think their schedule is a little bit backloaded towards the strength of it. So right now, getting a read on exactly how good they are, I'm not sure if we're going to find out for another week or two.
Okay. And so as I was saying earlier, we did have Cary Grove, who is up 14-7 on Jacobs. They were able to hold up after an interception by Justin Gonzalez. However, we want to show you the clip because he came incredibly close to taking it all the way for a pick six.
Yeah, that's a great effort right there by Cary Grove to kind of not give up on that play, because it would have been easy to just kind of hang the head and let that kid go the distance. But you saw a lot of white jerseys trying to run him down there. So they were able to stop him, and it makes it, it ultimately ends up making a difference.
Yeah. And I mean, from that angle, it almost looked like he was in, actually.
Yeah.
But obviously, yeah, that they were stopped, and then Cary Grove's defense held up to still make it 14-7. By the way, just looking at the chat here, we really do encourage everybody to leave comments as they please. You guys can also like and subscribe. You can find the podcasts and the articles on FridayNightDrive.com, NWHerald.com. Like it's all there for you. And I got to tell you, like I listen to these podcasts on a weekly basis, and to hear these guys talk about high school football, Kyle Neighbors and Steve, they it's so in depth and so in so much detail that it's incredible. So you gotta make sure that you check it out. Make sure you like and subscribe. Just gonna go back to the chat here and see if there's anything else. Looks like. Yeah, I just saw something from Mr. McGiblets asking about if there was a Morris stream link anywhere. If anybody, by the way, has a link to a live stream for any of these games, feel free to go ahead and send it, because it can be really hard for us to find every single score in the state of Illinois. That's just the nature of the beast. So please go ahead and help each other out. That helps us out as well. Looks like so I see we have from Michael Ballamy, IC Catholic in Nazareth, 14-14, almost at half.
Yes, now tied up 14-all.
Okay. Says first quarter, Morris over Woodstock, 14-0 in that one. We've got Go Leo, and we also have people thanking C Rob 309 for some scoring updates. So thank you very much for that. Really do appreciate your help. Let's see. Try to look for any other stuff that we can find here. We do have an update from Michael Wojak, not probably about 10 seconds ago. The Mustangs got to the Caravan 45, but Javier Payne picks it off for Mount Carmel. So still 21-7.
Some Catholic League updates. Marist has a 7-3 lead over St. Ignatius. Joliet Catholic tied with Niles Notre Dame at 7 apiece. Fenwick still holding that 7-0 lead over St. Francis. DePaul Prep has stretched its lead to 24-14 over Leo at halftime. St. Lawrence still holding that 14-3 lead over Providence.
So as far as I want to ask you about St. Ignatius for a second. How do you think they've looked, especially with just being put into the new conference?
Well, I mean,
they haven't played. They still have their schedule. The schedule's still going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, kind of uneven, to be honest with you right now, and up and down a little bit. Having some of the results that they've had, it's been kind of hard to get a read on where they're at right now. But that's understandable too, considering what they've had to go through so far this season.
And some other scores that we have here for you is looks like Pana and North Mac 20-0 in the second quarter. Breeze Central 25-7 over Freeburg in the second quarter as well. We do have an update actually here from Fox Valley Conference football. Prairie Ridge now up 20-14, 8:07 left in the third quarter. Prairie Ridge's Dom Creator 37-yard touchdown run. So Prairie Ridge taking their first lead, what looks to be their first lead of the game.
Yeah, back and forth like we expected. And it's one of those games that you're looking at that score and you're thinking, this might be one of those games that comes down to conversion ability. I mean, we've got it on a little bit of an odd number now with Prairie Ridge with that 20-14 lead. So that's definitely a game that I think we're not really going to get resolution to until pretty late in the evening.
For NUIC football, we have a final for Lena Winslow, 52-8 over Dakota. And it also looks like we have another halftime update from one of our reporters, Rob Osterly. He is out at Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way Central. Rob, how are things going over there? It looks like it's a pretty good battle.
Nah, it is all Lincoln Way West. Coming into the game, Lincoln Way Central was 3-0. Lincoln Way West had their quarterback out for the year. Somebody forgot to tell Lincoln Way West they weren't supposed to win this game. And they have just taken it right through Lincoln Way Central right from the start. It hasn't stopped.
Yeah, basically, Rob, I mean, they have that backup quarterback in the game. How has he played so far? And it doesn't look like they've skipped a beat.
He hasn't needed to do much. Joey Campagna has almost 100 yards in the first half and 2 touchdowns. Hepwrights did throw an absolute laser for a touchdown of 32 yards right on the post to Roswell. And, that throw looked really good. Other than that, he really hasn't been asked to do too much other than turn around and hand it to Campagna, and that seems to be working. And the West defense is just not allowing Central any breathing room at all.
Okay. Well, Rob, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the game, and hopefully we'll get to check in with you after.
Thanks, Rob.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
So yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those things where Lincoln Way Central, they were looking really good for the first 3 weeks of the season, but now Lincoln Way West seems like they have something to say about that.
Well, it is a rivalry game. It means a lot to both of these programs in district battle. Lincoln Way West has had a pretty good run over the last couple of years, but I think the mistake here was thinking that with that quarterback injury that they were just going to fold up. The Warriors obviously have no intention of doing that, so have really been able to bottle up Lincoln Way Central's offense, and that's something that that really no one has been able to do this year so far. I mean, Lincoln Way Central's been putting up points in bunches, running the ball very effectively out of some old school formations, but Lincoln Way West seems to have solved the riddle that is Lincoln Way Central so far in this game. So very impressive effort so far from them. I would not have anticipated that. We talked about it before. What are some of the biggest surprises of the night? That score right now, probably it's a blinking red light on my screen right now in regards to surprising in comparison to what I thought what might happen.
We do have a tie here for IC Catholic and Nazareth. It's tied at 14. We know how much, Nazareth, as we were talking about, is in fact in desperation mode at this point. Going 0-4 would definitely only make their season that much tougher. How do they, I don't really know. I mean, how do they try to, first of all, get a win in this game against IC Catholic, who is looking to be hanging pretty tough?
Well, what seems to get lost in the shuffle of Nazareth's start is it still has a lot of talent on that football team. They just played a monster of a schedule for the first 3 weeks of the year. And then last week's game against Montini was just one of those fantastic finish games that literally could have gone either way and came right down to the wire, and it just didn't go their way. So, they've played a monster of the schedule, but they just have so many good players on that team, Logan Malachuk and Gabe Kaminsky. And, this is a good roster. And the other thing that you have to look at here, as good as IC Catholic is, that's still a relatively small school program. By enrollment, that's a 3A program. So there is a roster advantage that Nazareth kind of has in this, is they've got probably a little bit more depth. And once again, both teams have skilled players, but this is a game when you look at the records, 3-0 against 0-3, the gap is not that wide. That's something that needs to be taken into account here. So if you would have had me pick the game before, I would have said ISD Catholic's going to win the game, but I didn't think it was going to be a runaway by any stretch of the imagination.
Absolutely. Just a really quick question here that is actually, I just saw this in the chat that would be worth talking about. St. Dominic 27, Althoff 13 with in the third quarter, 6 minutes left. Was Althoff supposed to be down like this?
Well, to be fair, because I'm a weirdo, I know a lot about Missouri football. This St. Dominic program is pretty good. Like, it was one of those games when I looked at it, it's like, if Althoff plays a very interesting schedule. They've got some teams from Missouri. They've got some much larger schools. Keep in mind that this is a school that's probably going to end up in the 1A playoffs. So, they're very good. They're very fast. They're very athletic, but St. Dominic is not exactly a joke. So that's a good team. I think they're probably considered like a top 50 program in Missouri right now. So this was a game that I thought was going to be a really nice measuring stick for Althoff. The gap surprises me a little bit, but I'm not necessarily shocked by it. I'll put it that way.
Okay. We do have an update from Michael Ballamy, who is who's actually helping us out in the chat as always. Wilmington against Piatone, 27-0 in the third quarter. We also have Williamsville up on Olympia, or not up on Olympia. I'm sorry. That's actually a tie right now, 20-20 with a little under 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. Was that supposed to be as close as it is? I'm not entirely sure.
Kind of a doozy of a game. To be honest, that's a doozy of a conference. The Sangamo Conference has, I guess, 3 teams that you would consider at the top of the heap in that league: Maroa Forsyth, Athens, and Williamsville. But Olympia's just kind of been lurking right at the top of that second group, trying to break into that group of 3 teams, showing off well tonight against Williamsville. It wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, we're in the fourth quarter in that game. It is going to come down to the wire. But, that score surprises me a little, but not a ton. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Well, we have to check in with another one of our reporters who is out covering the St. Rita Mount Carmel game. We have Michael Dwojak. Michael, first of all, welcome back. You get a nice game for here, Mount Carmel and St. Rita. How are things going over there?
Yeah, this is we had an explosive start here. Both teams scored on their first 3 drives, where Mount Carmel came out to a 14-7 lead pretty early. Mount Carmel only needed 5 plays to score on their first drive. Then St. Rita needed 3 plays to score on next drive, and then Mount Carmel responded again. So we're at 24-7 right now at the half. Mount Carmel able to score again, and then had another field goal at the halftime. So an explosive start to the game, and things kind of slowed down a little bit toward the end of the half.
Looks like Darian Dupree's doing Darian Dupree things tonight. Is that an accurate assessment?
That is a fair assessment, Steve. He is doing things that he's been doing sort of his entire career at this point. he's just passing. He's catching the ball well. I mean, he's moving the ball well as a rusher. I mean, he continues to do what he evades defenders. He's missing, like, Rita's trying to tackle him, and they're not really doing a great job at it right now. So, Darian Dupree has obviously been a big component of what they wanted to do this year, and that has continued so far in this game, at least, where he's been a big part of the offense, both as a rusher and a pass catcher.
Has the Carmel defense, other than the big plays, kind of been able to hem St. Rita in, especially DJ Stewart?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, has the Carmel defense been just kind of able to hem St. Rita in, other than a couple of big plays?
I think it's been a little bit of both. I think Mount Carmel has 2 interceptions, but they kind of felt like forced interceptions by St. Rita's quarterback, Jed Hilding. It feels like Rita's trying to get some momentum offensively, but they just keep kind of getting in their own way. They got to the 45, and then Jed threw an interception. And then, they're just creating they're trying to get the offense going. They got a big 64-yard touchdown. That's how they scored their first touchdown. But other than that, I mean, it's just been kind of been a slow roll. They got to get DJ Stewart going a little bit more. But offensively, I think it's kind of been Mount Carmel doing a good job, and also St. Rita kind of getting in its own way.
Okay. Well, yeah, it sounds like Mount Carmel is basically doing what it does best. So, Michael, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you once this goes final, and enjoy the second half.
Thanks. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Michael.
All right. So we're also going to bring in Tim Cronin, who is out covering Joliet Catholic and Niles Notre Dame. Tim, how are you doing tonight?
Gentlemen, it's good to see you. Notre Dame is having a bit of a dog's breakfast of a game today, and yet Joliet Catholic only leads 14-13 at the half. It's been a bizarre football game.
What's been so bizarre about it?
Well, H.J. Grigsby, Joliet Catholic's bell cow, ran for 75 yards in the first couple of series, and we haven't seen him since. We wonder if he's re-injured his leg. He's had trouble with that. The Notre Damers, the Dons, got on the board thanks to a fumble recovery and a run down to the 4, and then an easy score from there, and then managed to score once more. But Joliet Catholic scored in the last minute to take the lead, 14-13, on a wonderful passing play. And so, who's really the dominant team in this game? You would say it's Joliet Catholic from the numbers, but Notre Dame is right there. And it's one more mistake by Joliet Catholic, and they're probably back in the lead. It's been very odd. And it's the last thing that the Hilltoppers need, having lost 20-10 last week to St. Rita. And of course, you guys spoke about St. Rita losing, leading 10-0 at the half, and then losing 20-10, giving up the last 20 points. They haven't looked great defensively, and yet they've made big plays, and they stuffed Notre Dame on its first 5 series. The Dons scored their first touchdown, and then after that, in the next series, they got their first down. Go figure.
So you're not sure what happened to Grigsby? Did you see?
We don't know. No, he's still in. He's in, but he's not being used. It's almost like he's out there as a decoy. That's the hunch on my part, at least.
Okay. Well, Tim, again, that was a wonderful breakdown, by the way. Really do appreciate that. We hope you enjoy the rest of the game, and
I hope I understand the rest of the game. But thank you for your compliment. It's very kind of you to say.
No worries at all. Enjoy the rest of the game, man. Thank you very much.
Right, cheers.
All right. Oh man. So I do, by the way, like Tim was saying, Joliet Catholic and Niles Notre Dame, that one, obviously a very weird game right now. And especially that, Grigsby not even in, not really sure what's going on with him, but, we'll keep tabs on it as the night goes along. But I did want to ask, before we head to a commercial here, I do want to ask about Marengo and Johnsburg, because right now Marengo leads 14-12 at the half. Are there any big playoff implications for this?
Well, Marengo is in a situation after kind of a slow start where this is pretty pivotal for them. I mean, they lost their season opener to Evergreen Park in the non-conference schedule. They lost to Richmond Burton, so they head into this game with a 1-2 record. So obviously they don't want to back into a 1-3 record with a loss in this game. Would start to really kind of put them behind the 8 ball in terms of chasing down 5 wins. So for Marengo, this game is pretty pivotal. It's still pretty pivotal for Johnsburg too, to be completely honest with you, because you don't want to get. I mean, a loss here would drop them back to the 500 mark. Still some obstacles remaining on their schedule. So one of those games that when you look at it on paper heading into the week, it really kind of draws right down the middle in terms of importance for both sides.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll have to see how the rest of the night plays out. But we've got a couple of other scoring updates here. Halftime, Sterling up on Galesburg, 45 to nothing. Prairie Ridge and Huntley, it looks like Dom Creator ran for another touchdown. Prairie Ridge is now up 27-14 over Huntley with 5:05 remaining in the third. Well, that was about 5 minutes ago from Joe Stevenson. But, it might be another one of those things where Prairie Ridge in their game against Crystal Lake South last week, it was pretty tight. And then all of a sudden, Prairie Ridge found a way to just keep going and keep kind of pushing. And then next thing you know, their offense just kind of took it away.
Scoring update here. Sandburg leads Lockport 16-14 at halftime. Our guy Superfoot misses a 28-yard field goal, and then Sandburg's kicker turns around and comes back and shows him how it's done. Kicks one right before the halftime break. But
yet there's no kickers going to the parking lot after that one.
No, apparently not. Yeah. So I mean that's definitely a 16-14 Sandburg score. Definitely not what I was expecting here, but Sandburg is proving right now to be kind of a feisty little bunch. I mean, there was a very interesting game with the Calb last week, which they were able to materialize with a win. And you have to kind of take notice of them. They were scrappy in a loss to St. Rita to start the season. They might be a little bit better than we were originally thinking here. So giving Lockport all they want right now, and I'm certain that probably wasn't what a lot of people expected.
And so it also looks like for Batavia and St. Charles North that Batavia is starting to find a little momentum here to maybe try to pull away, because right now they're up 31-21 after a field goal in order to extend the lead. However, Batavia's defense is also doing really well in this because they had an interception which contributed to going for a field goal on the next drive. We actually have that interception from Batavia right here. And I think I heard somebody in the background as soon as that interception happened. Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. And you know what? While we're at it, why don't we just go ahead and play we've got the clip of the field goal from Batavia to extend its lead 31-21. We will actually go ahead and skip on that. However, again, field goal by Batavia to extend their lead 31-21 over St. Charles North. Jake Bartleson is out there covering that one. I see you might be writing some things down on your scoreboard here. Do you have any updates?
I was just marking up the Batavia score right there. So basically, pretty much the same as what we were just going through, and not a lot of real breaking updates in terms of the close games.
Yeah, absolutely. I
just got one that was interesting here.
Okay, go for it.
We were talking about it before. Joliet West has captured a 17-10 win over Plainfield North. So a huge win for the Tigers tonight, moves them to 3-1 on the season. And considering, that their lone loss is to a very good Morris team, this is a breakout team right now, Joliet West picking up that win, because now they go into divisional play where I think they're going to be an overwhelming favorite in every one of their games for the rest of the year. So a huge win for Joliet West there.
All right. Huge win for Joliet West. And we are going to go ahead and take our first commercial break because we've been at this for about an hour. So we will be right back with more Live with Friday Night Drive.
Need a roof, vinyl windows, or doors? Call R.E. Duchesne Construction. With an A+ rating for the Better Business Bureau and servicing Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties, call R.E. Duchesne. 815-722-2821. Financing available. Find out more online at reduchene.com.
I like Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
Come to Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce. Dine in, carry out, and catering available. Located in Rock Falls and Sterling, Illinois, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try our original Chicken George today.
Need a roof, vinyl windows, or doors? Call R.E. Duchesne Construction. With an A-plus rating for the Better Business Bureau and servicing Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties, call R.E. Duchesne. 815-722-2821. Financing available. Find out more online at reduchene.com.
I like Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
Come to Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce. Dine in, carry out, and catering available. Located in Rock Falls and Sterling, Illinois, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try our original Chicken George today.
Need a roof, vinyl windows, or doors? Call R.E. Duchesne Construction. With an A-plus rating for the Better Business Bureau and servicing Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties, call R.E. Duchesne. 815-722-2821. Financing available. Find out more online at reduchene.com.
I like Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
Come to Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce. Dine in, carry out, and catering available. Located in Rock Falls and Sterling, Illinois, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try our original Chicken George today.
And we're back with Live with Friday Night Drive. I'm Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie. We have again been at this for about an hour, and in that time, we've actually been taking the time behind the scenes here to put some clips together for you for some games that have been happening around the area. So we'll go ahead and roll that for you right here.
Near the 5.
Joe Vanderweel for the touchdown!
All right. So, by the way, we want to thank Neil and Kyle who are behind the scenes here, and they were able to compile those clips and put that together for us. So, great job, guys. There has been a wonderful amount of excitement that has happened throughout the night. But you have some updates for us for DuPage.
Yeah, Sandberg picked up stretched that lead to 23-14 right now over Lockport. So definitely looks like they have the Porters on the ropes. But going from there, you're looking for some definite battles in the DuPage Valley right now. So the last time I heard, Neuqua Valley was leading 3-0 over Naperville North, a week removed from 51 points that Naperville North had put up last week in Bolingbrook. So kind of all over the map in terms of what the Naperville North offense is apparently doing from week to week. So definitely a very interesting one there. And then you're looking at some of the other scores in that conference right now. DeKalb was involved in a wild one, as we learned from Eddie a little bit earlier. Now DeKalb has almost blown the doors off of that one. They're up 48-14 in that one. So they've really kind of taken control in that one. So definitely some interesting scores coming out of the DuPage Valley.
Yeah, definitely. So we have, with what's going on right now with Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge, Cary Grove right now, I believe the last time that we had checked, they were up 27-7 over Jacobs. And of course, with Joe reporting about Prairie Ridge and Huntley, Prairie Ridge was up 27-14 the last time that we had checked that one. So, now Alex is coming in. Could it be 4-0 Prairie Ridge at 4-0 Cary Grove next week?
Boy.
Also something that we're not surprised to see.
Yeah, that's not exactly a new theory right there, having those two teams colliding into one another midway through the season with undefeated records. So not exactly unique to high school football in this area.
Just another update here. This was actually reposted. It was reposted by JT Penalty, but we have a scoring update from Jared Bell, NT Sports. Jared, Plano up on LaSalle Peru 6-3.
Wow.
At the end of the third quarter.
Okay.
So the Cavs are going to have 3rd and goal at the 4 starting in the 4th quarter. And I saw your reaction when I read that score. So is that surprising right now?
Well, that's one of those games, and I talk about them a lot when we get to this midpoint of the season, where it really means a lot for both of these two teams in regards to their playoff hopes, even though it seems silly to start talking about that in week 4. But if you look at what they have left remaining on their schedules, a W in this game would be big for both of these teams. I did not expect us to be sitting that low scoring deep into this game. I thought both of those two teams would put up more points than they have.
And another update from NUIC football. We have a final here. Looks like Saranac, Michigan,
yes.
Winning over Galena 32-20.
Okay, that stings, because in that conference, the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference, you have to play one outside of the league. And based on how good that league is, you need that to be a win when you go outside of the conference schedule. So that's a real stinger for Galena's playoff hopes, because, you still have to deal with the titans of that league, the Lena Winslows, the Forestons, the Fultons, the Dupex. That's 4 teams right there that I just listed. So
yeah.
In order for them to make up for that loss, they're ultimately going to have to beat one of those 4 teams that I just listed just to be in the conversation. They're going to have to get at least one win against one of those teams.
Just out of curiosity, does it have to be somebody from out of state, or just somebody out of league?
Who you can find.
Okay.
I mean, because they have 9 teams in that conference. So you can't have a direct round robin every week. Someone's got to find a non-con game. So I think they have a blind draw for which week you end up getting having to schedule that game, because it becomes trickier the longer you get into that game.
And we have one that just wrapped up as a final here from Brian Hoxie. Sycamore 48-0 over Ottawa. So Ottawa having a decent amount of success the first couple of weeks, but they ran into a Sycamore team, as you had stated earlier. Got to bump up the effort a little bit. Yeah. Sycamore is pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good football team, and if you don't come with that 100% effort, it's going to be a long night.
Absolutely. So it looks like we also have another final here. We have Coal City getting a win over Lyle tonight, and we actually have Coach Francis Lowerin, who is going to be talking to us here. So first of all, tonight.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there.
That's okay. Congratulations on the win tonight.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Coach, I mean, it seems like you really got going really quickly tonight, kind of established yourself. I mean, how have you guys been able to be so dominant after that week 1 loss to Morris? Did that just kind of give you a jolt and get you back on task?
I think so. I mean, playing a team like Morris right out of the gates is always tough. But, it shows you kind of where you're at, what we need to work on. And I thought the guys responded well. And, it's nice to kind of get a few games strung together here and hopefully keep it going.
How was Landon Benson for you tonight? I know he's been really kind of a freight train over the last couple of weeks. Did he turn another big effort for you tonight?
Yeah, he had limited carries tonight, just because that's kind of how the game went. But he had another night over 100 yards, and he's just such a spark plug for the offense of the entire team. We really feed off that. So, it's kind of nice when 100 yards doesn't seem like a big deal when Lane is running.
All right, well, Coach, again, congratulations on the win tonight. You got a busy night ahead of you. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Again, that was Coach Francis Lowerin from Coal City, who they got a win over Lisle tonight. And it was as you were talking with Coach. I mean, Coal City after that first loss to Morris in week 1. They really haven't skipped a beat after that.
Yeah, I mean, they just absolutely they've cruised these victories since that loss. Picked up a 41-0 win over Canton, then a 55-6 win over Streator, and then another big win tonight. So it's been almost on cruise control for them. You can't help but start to wonder. I mean, you look ahead on their schedule a little bit, and Wilmington looms in week 7. So it looks like they are getting the momentum that they need to make that game as interesting as it always seems to be.
Absolutely. And I know you said you've seen quite a few Wilmington games in your time.
Yeah.
So that will probably, the suspense leading up to that will probably be pretty high.
Well, Wilmington's doing the same thing right now. They're manhandling Piatone as far as the last I had seen. And after they had a week 1 loss to Seneca, they're doing the same thing that Coal City did. They're winning by comfortable margins. So we might be heading towards a collision course between two teams playing really, really good football when we get to week 7.
Definitely. And if you're just joining us here, we've been on air for a little over an hour here, but live with Friday Night Drive, Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie. We're getting all the scores for you and all the updates, all the excitement that is that's surrounding Friday Night Lights and everything. I want to take this time to thank our wonderful sponsor, SGKR Law, and we also want to talk a little bit about Candlelight Inn. It's home of the original Chicken George and Jan sauce, dine in, carry out, and catering available. Locations in Rock Falls, Sterling, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try the original Chicken George today. So again, we had Ottawa Sycamore finishing at 48-0 in favor of Sycamore. We do have, we had another update from Jake Bartleson. It seems like Batavia is starting to drive again, still up 31-21 in that with about 59 seconds left in the third quarter. We also have some NUIC football updates. Fulton over Stockton right now, 40-16 in the fourth quarter. Ridgewood over Ridgewood in a close one against Polo, 36-34. That's a little about under 6 minutes, 5:47 left in the fourth quarter with that.
So a couple of Catholic League updates. We've still got a 14-14 tie in Nazareth IC Catholic in the third quarter. Fenwick now leads St. Francis 7-3 in the third quarter. St. Francis's offense is getting stifled a little bit here. That has been the one thing they have been able to do this year. They've given up quite a few points on defense. So a little bit of a struggle for them there. Marist now holds a 14-10 lead over St. Ignatius. And an interesting score out from the western portion of the state. Quincy, a state-ranked team in 6A, just took a 34-27 lead over Moline with about 7.5 minutes left to go in that contest. Quincy, really, really potent passing game, pretty strong team out there. Moline struggling a little bit for them with a 1-2 start to the season. So Moline trying to fight back and pick off who looks to be the conference top dog in the Western Big Six, but 34-27 right now, Quincy in favor.
We want to thank Michael Ballamy. He was giving us a scoring update on that one in the chat as well. Thank you very much. We also had Michael was helping us out here as well. Olympia over Williamsville, 27-20. 4:24 left in the 4:20 left in the fourth quarter. That was it was a little over 5, maybe about 4 or 5 minutes ago. So that one could be wrapping up depending on the score.
Yeah, the interesting thing there is Olympia has the ball as well, according to Michael. So definitely a game that would be a huge win for Olympia, picking off Williamsville, who always seems to find themselves in the mix. Just noticed another scoring update. I gave you a Marist scoring update. That score has changed now. St. Ignatius has taken over the lead in that game, now leads 16-14 in the third quarter. So that's very interesting. Another Catholic League update, St. Patrick and St. Viator are tied at 14 in the third quarter. Looking back to last season, this was one of those interesting games where you had 2 4-4 teams fighting for a playoff berth. St. Viator won that game. I'm sure St. Patrick hasn't forgotten that. But once again, razor thin matchup between St. Viator and St. Patrick.
So with Saint Ignatius, though, I mean, I know we were talking about them a little bit earlier, but given the consistency of Marist being in the conference and whatnot, is this a bit surprising to you that Saint Ignatius is kind of hanging tough and now is taking the lead?
Well, I think what really has been problematic for Saint Ignatius to start the season is, they had a pretty rigorous non-conference schedule. They're below 500 right now. So, in that situation, so they need to get it going because there's still some difficult games for them on the horizon. I mean, Marist also is at 1-2. These are two teams that are below 500 right now that are trying to fight their way back to the 500 mark. Whoever loses this game is at 1-3 with a lot of talented football teams waiting for them on the rest of their schedule. You don't want to be 1-3 in the Catholic League right now. You just don't. So that would be a pretty massive win for St. Ignatius if they can finish this one off. Marist, plays a monster of a non-conference schedule in front of the Catholic League. And this is where, while that helps you, if you can get into the playoffs, you got to get in the playoffs. Yeah. So that's what it really comes down to. So Marist would be, in quite a bit of trouble if they don't get this win. Same thing for St. Ignatius, though. I mean, 1-3 after 4 games in the Catholic League is kind of deep stretches. I mean, you got to really do some work to get yourself back into playoff consideration in the second half, and the tough teams just keep coming.
Well, it's basically, I think one word that could be used to describe it is just unforgiving.
Yeah.
It's 100% unforgiving. Speaking of another unforgiving conference, we have the Fox Valley, where Prairie Ridge actually just got through making it final against Huntley, 27-14. So this game was very close, very, very close at halftime. But again, that Prairie Ridge defense just being absolutely dominant to not give up a single point in the second half, because it was 14-13 at the half. So good job for Prairie Ridge to go, who remains undefeated at 4-0. Huntley going down to 3-1. And depending on what happens with the Cary Grove Jacobs game, we could very well be getting that matchup of the undefeateds.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah, it very well could happen. And that's you get used to these games being kind of dogfights between these two teams, but it always seems like when Prairie Ridge needs to draw on some sort of reserve, it always seems to be in the tank for them. This is another example of that. So that's a big win for them. It was one that, honestly, I get tired of saying it because I feel like I say it too much, but it really felt like a coin flip game coming into this one. It could have gone either way. But Prairie Ridge just time and time again seems to win games like this, where you come in, you're maybe not sure, and at the end of it, Prairie Ridge is the one that's got the W. So another great start for them, sitting there at 4-0 right now in what can be a pretty chaotic conference has to be a pretty good feeling.
Absolutely. So another Fox Valley Conference update. We have Dundee Crown is up 13-7 on McHenry. That's about 37 seconds left in that one. So that one actually pretty close, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see if there's a final that comes up here. So we actually do have, and here we go. We've got the update here. Kyle Pierce interception seals a Dundee Crown 13-7 win to end a 9-game losing streak.
Okay.
So good job for Dundee Crown to get in the win column there.
Yeah, they got to start somewhere in a situation like that when you've built a little bit of a losing streak. So a win for them gets them, heading in the right direction.
Absolutely. We have another update from Batavia and St. Charles North from Jake Bartleson. Batavia with some wide receiver pass action, big completion from Welpley sets up eventual bow rushing touchdown, 38-21. In favor of Batavia over St. Charles North with 10:59 remaining in the fourth.
Well, it seems like, and I'm not sure the exact specifics of this game, but one of the things that you can't do is you can't give Batavia extra opportunities. They seem to make you pay for that every single time. And it seems like Batavia's coming up with some plays, getting some extra possessions. And when you do that, that's like playing with fire against somebody like Batavia.
Absolutely. We also, looks like we have an interesting update here from Daniel Hillard in the chat. Marist fumbles a punt return and turns it over. St. Ignatius ball around the Marist 30, still the third quarter.
Okay. Yeah. That's another situation. You simply can't have mistakes in games like this when the talent level is so high on both sides. Those are the kinds of things that really end up costing you in the long run. I'm just seeing an update there from Michael. Olympia did beat Williamsville, so that's a 27-20 win for Olympia. A big win in the grand scheme of things in the Sangamo Conference that usually has a pretty clearly defined pecking order at the top. Olympia trying to break into that group.
And for Tim Frolig, he is out covering the Marengo and Johnsburg game. So Marengo is up 14-12 still. 3:15 left in the third quarter. And, so that one looking to be a pretty tight one, and very well might go down to the wire.
Yeah, looks like it might. And Ignatius has just scored a touchdown, so they've made Marist pay. So now it is 23-14 with the point after pending for St. Ignatius. So St. Ignatius opening things up right now. And that could turn out to be a really pivotal win for the Wolfpack if they can finish this one off.
And going back to the Fox Valley Conference, we will in fact have a matchup of the undefeateds 4-0 between Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge, because Cary Grove has just made it final, 27-14 over Jacobs. The Golden Eagles fall to 1-3 on the season, and I have to say for Jacobs, it seemed like they were possibly off to a decent start. Because, obviously they lost that game to Prairie Ridge in week 1. It was a battle of defenses, and Prairie Ridge came out on top 6-0. Jacobs went on to win against Hampshire, and then they lose to Huntley, and now they lose to Cary Grove. So, Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge separating themselves just a tad, with Huntley, having one loss. But again, just another example of how insane a lot of the times this Fox Valley Conference really is.
Some updates from the Southwest Suburban Conference right now. Bolingbrook holds a 14-7 lead over Homewood Flossmoor in the third quarter. That game much lower scoring than I would have expected after last week. Lincoln Way East has now stretched out that game against Bradley Bourbonnais to now lead 27-3 in the fourth quarter. And that Lockport-Sandburg game still a little bit wild. Lockport closes back up that gap. It's now down to 23-21. Yeah, there's still quite a bit of time left in that game. They're still in mid-third quarter, so that should be an adventure. And when you see a score that close, I start to think about what role Superfoot might play in this outcome. So, it basically comes down to, but that's the kind of thing I'm drawing a laughter here, but special teams probably going to come into play here. I mean, it's that simple. But Sandberg's got some skills in that area too, so it might be either side.
We've seen it not just from Superfoot. Lockport, we've seen it from other teams as well. We saw Princeton lose on a last second field goal, which is, Princeton is an incredible 3A program. And, but we even had it last week where, again, what do we say? Superfoot had to sprint onto the field in order to kick a field goal with, 0.7 of a second left. I mean, it was crazy. So going back to Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge here, do you think that either one of these teams has what it takes this season to make it to Bloomington?
Well, the interesting thing about the Cary Grove Prairie Ridge debate is you're used to seeing them both in the same classification. But due to an enrollment switch, Prairie Ridge is almost certainly going to be a 5A team in the postseason. So theoretically, this question could be, can both of them get to Bloomington?
Absolutely.
And when you look at the brackets, the way that they're designed, and they are in North-South and 5 and 6, most of the strength in Class 6A is in the southern portion of the bracket. East St. Louis, Kankakee. Those are teams that are going to be on the South bracket. When you look at the North, pretty wide open in 6A. I think the opportunity is there for Cary Grove. It's a little bit different in 5A, but that bracket's kind of chaotic as well. You get a lot of Chicago Public League teams in the north side of the bracket. It just kind of depends on who the other obstacles might end up being. And the interesting thing when you start talking about 5A, one team that you almost always seem to have to be talking about in this conversation might not even be in the playoffs, and that's Nazareth. So 5A North might be a lot more open than you're accustomed to it being as well. So do I think it's possible? Yep, I sure do. I think it's a possibility that both those two teams could find themselves in Bloomington.
So we've got some other updates here. St. Ignatius scores a touchdown pending the extra point, and it looks like they actually got it to go. So 24-14 in favor of St. Ignatius, estimating from Daniel Hillard here, late third quarter late third quarter by now. But St. Ignatius up by 10 in that one. We have another scoring update from Michael Ballamy. We have a few, actually. Edwardsville up 47-7 over O'Fallon. That is a running clock with 10:31 left in the fourth quarter. Cesar, it looks like Cesar 32 and Carmi, am I saying that right? Carmi White County?
Yes.
So 32-30, and that one is actually a final.
That's a battle of 2 3-0 teams from the Black Diamond Conference. So that was, they look pretty even on paper based on what you know. So a good win down there for Cesar, picking that one up.
Absolutely. By the way, I just saw it, and we have scores that are going to continually be flashed on the screen here, and I actually just noticed one. Naperville Central picking up a 27-0 lead over Waubonsie Valley.
Yeah, that's a win that I think Naperville Central expected to get. But they have played very good defense for most of the season. Had a little bit of a hiccup last week against Lockport, but definitely kind of got back on track. I still think it's probably a 2-horse race there in the DuPage Valley between Naperville Central and Naperville North. But Neuqua Valley is trying to throw their hat in the ring tonight. They're giving Naperville North all they can handle the last I had seen.
So live with Friday Night Drive, Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie. Again, truly do appreciate, by the way, everybody contributing in the chat. It really does help us out to have, that everybody is engaged with this, and again, like and subscribe. I mean, we're going to be here, we're going to be here for the regular season as it stands now. I mean, we still have, it feels like, look, it's week 4, but it feels like we're starting to get into the thick of things. If it's, I mean, you guys have more analysis, and I'm looking at articles and I'm listening to podcasts, but you guys are really into the, you're into the weeds over here. So, but week 4, it just kind of feels like, all right, like, here we go. Like, what are we going to start seeing? Like, who could be for real? Who is, who's a little bit more surprising, and, et cetera.
Yeah, there's some real definition that kind of comes out of week 4. You'll have a list of probably 60 to 70 teams at the end of the night that sit at 4-0 for the season. But where it gets interesting is to see how many of those teams are at the 2-2 mark or the 1-3 mark that still have a pretty substantial uphill climb with just 5 regular season games to play. Because if you're at 2-2, you got to play above 500 ball to get to the 5-win mark. If you're at 1-3, you got a lot of problems. Yeah. You got to go 4-5, 4-1 over the last 5 to get yourself into that playoff conversation and a guarantee. So once you start looking, the 4-0s are interesting. Don't get me wrong, but for me, it's looking at the teams that are maybe below that or at that 500 mark and the obstacles that they're going to have to clear to get through the rest of the season. And week 4, I think, is when you can start making a little bit more of those definitions.
All right. So we did have now again, we do remember we did have a final here of 27-14 in favor of Prairie Ridge over Huntley. Joe Stevenson was out covering that one. Joe, I have to say, it sounds like Prairie Ridge's defense really just took it to Huntley in the second half. They didn't give up a point.
They were really good, guys. They were really good. They got a huge turnover. Giovanni Creator I think just kind of took the ball right out of Braylon Bauer's hands on a run and set up a touchdown. His brother scored on the very next play. And they were really good. So it ends up 27-13. Yeah. A tremendous defensive effort.
We may have, we may have.
Did you lose me? Am I okay?
We lost you.
Am I back?
We lost you for a second. But we got you back. So you're okay. You're okay.
Okay. I got 2 players here. I got Dom Creator, who plays defense and also had some huge plays on offense. Went down, scored the 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, and Xander Severson from the defense. So I'll hand the phone over to those guys.
Sure. If you don't mind, we'll talk to Dom. Yeah.
Here's Dom first.
Okay. Sounds good.
Hello.
There you go, Dom.
All right. Dom Creator. Hey, by the way, first of all, congratulations on the win against Huntley tonight. Sounds like you had a pretty great game. What were some things that just really stood out to you as far as, just being able to run away with this one in the second half?
Honestly, I think we came out in the second half with a different mindset than the first. We were really aggressive. on the offense and defensive side. I really think that set us apart, and we won the game because of that. We played really hard in the second half.
Joe mentioned that there was a pretty substantial turnover for you guys in the second half. Do you feel like that was kind of the point where you felt like you could finish this off for a W?
Oh yeah, for sure. The turnover was a big part of our win, and it honestly sets the tone for our defense possession and offense. After a turnover, our offense is really motivated to score, to not only take away the game, but it's a great way to set the tone and show us what we're really about.
All right. Well, Dom, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. If you could hand the phone over to Xander, that would be great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me on here.
Hey, no problem at all, man. First of all, congratulations on the win tonight. We just got through talking to Dom. It sounds like you guys came out with a different mindset, down by 1 point going into, after the first half.
Yeah, we came out in the first half a little slow, not what we want to do. Coaches preach win the first 15 seconds. And I don't think we won the first half, but we came out swinging in the second half. I think we did win the first 15 seconds.
What did you feel like was pivotal for you tonight in kind of keeping Huntley in check? What did you have to do to have the success that you did?
Hey, could you repeat that question? You guys lagged out a little bit.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could point out what you thought you had to do against Huntley tonight to win this football game.
I think just listening to our coaches, they preach grit and resilience all week. We had some minor changes in halftime, and I think that really affected how we played and came out, and the intensity was just on a whole nother level.
All right. Well, Xander, again, congratulations on the big win over Huntley tonight. You guys are undefeated, and congratulations. Good luck heading into week 5. If you could hand the phone over to Joe, would really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you.
All right, guys. Oh, but hey, by the way, I made a mistake earlier. I got on a 37-yard run. Then they got the first lead of the night in the third quarter, and then the very next play is Gio stripping.
Gavin Tinch.
Okay. We may have lost connection with Joe on this, but we'll go ahead and I think we'll go ahead and we'll move on. A big win for Prairie Ridge, and we got to talk to Dom Creator and Xander Severson. Big win for those guys tonight. And now we actually have another coach who is going to spend some time with us. It looks like we have Jared Shaner from Dixon. Coach, thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, off to a pretty strong start this season. What did you feel like was the big key tonight in getting past Genoa Kingston?
Yeah, I think just coming out, GK is a good program. We've been back and forth with them over the years, and coming out, it's only our second home game of the year, so having our crowd certainly helped. But take care of the football. We did some really good things in the first half. Our defense played really well in the first half. So anytime you feel like your defense is not going to let up a lot or give up a lot, that makes it easier offensively too.
Kind of riding a little bit of a wave of momentum here off the first part of the season. Do you feel like there's anything in particular on offense that's really kind of clicking for you right now?
Yeah, offensively we've played pretty well. We certainly have drives, penalty killers all the time. We've got to eliminate some of those things. We've been relatively balanced. We've got a really good running back in Aiden Wiseman. He's just a workhorse. And then Ty at the quarterback position can run it a little bit. And we've got 3 or 4 guys that we like getting the ball to on the perimeter. So I think just trying to be balanced and really taking what the defense gives you. I think that's kind of the key. If we get a light box, we want to run the ball, and we're perfectly content with that. The guys up front love that. And if they want to stack the box, we want to get it to the perimeter, get it to some guys that are pretty good athletes.
All right. Well, Coach, congratulations again on the win tonight. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Best of luck in week 5, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Hey, thanks for having us, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. All right, so that was head coach from Dixon, Jared Shaner, in a nice win over Genoa Kingston. So what does this mean for Dixon going forward?
Well, right now you kind of look at the Big Northern Conference on paper, and it looks like obviously Byron is still the king of that league until otherwise made known, that that's not the case. But Dixon has now made a strong case for kind of slotting in there right there as a number 2. They beat Stillman Valley in the first week of the season. That's usually a team that is right in the mix. But now they've just kind of strung together 4 wins. They don't play Byron until the second half of the season, but they've looked pretty solid all around. Defensively, they've looked pretty good. So got a Catholic League scoring update here. Providence Catholic, we were talking about their special team skills. They just ran back a kick. That game is now tied at 17 in the third quarter with St. Lawrence. So once again, Providence's special teams coming through big.
And before we hit some more updates here with scores, R.E. Duchesne Construction is a licensed and fully bonded exterior contractor serving Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties. R.E. Duchesne has an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call 815-722-2821 for all your home improvement needs. Financing available. Check us out on the web, reduchene.com. Some other scoring updates for you. We have Geneva and Lake Park. Geneva up 41-7 in the fourth quarter on that one. It looks like there is a final, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it looks like there's a final for Normal Community and Peoria. We have 63-42 in favor of Normal Community. I got to take a breath after that one, because I feel like Peoria is obviously very capable of putting up a lot of points, but this Normal Community team just continues to thrive.
Yeah, it definitely has been extremely explosive offensive, situation for Normal Community. Definitely one of those teams right now that you really kind of have to keep an eye on moving forward in the 7A ranks, because they have just been manhandling people. Doing a really nice job on defense too. They gave up some points tonight to Peoria, but almost everybody gives up points to Peoria. But it's hard to get beat when you're throwing up 60, 70 points a week.
Absolutely. So it looks like we also have a Mount Carmel has a 31-7 lead over St. Rita at this point. We have a nice little clip for you though from the touchdown that made it 31-7. All right, and by the way, that was Maurice Densmore. Ran at 57 yards for the for a touchdown for the Caravan. Again, late in the third quarter after that touchdown, 31-7 in favor of Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel, I'm just going to say it at this point, Mount Carmel is doing Mount Carmel things.
Yeah, and that's I don't want to say I expected this kind of a score, but the comfortable margin was certainly something as I saw as a possibility. So, looking at that, another update from the Catholic League, heading to the fourth quarter between Nazareth and IC Catholic, that game is tied at 14.
Still tied at 14.
Still tied at 14. They've locked
okay.
It down on defense on both sides, it appears.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep tabs on that one. We have some other scoring updates here. Bloomington against Danville. Bloomington is up 17-14, and that one is in the fourth quarter. We have Stark County over Havana Midwest Central, 49-12, and that one is in the fourth quarter. We have Richards 14-7 in the third over Oak Lawn. We'll keep going down the line
and
here.
Just as quickly as I got it out of my mouth, Nazareth has taken a 21-14 lead in the early fourth quarter over IC Catholic. Another update in that league, St. Francis has now put together 16 consecutive points and now leads Fenwick 16-7, also in the fourth quarter.
Okay, we actually have an overtime going on right now as well. Newman going to overtime with Rock Island. They're both tied at 14.
Boy, that's a very interesting score. Newman and Rock Island playing this game. It's kind of a unique alignment here. Newman, a Class 1A team by enrollment, about 200 students in the school. Rock Island needed a game because Rock Island Alaman dropped out of playing varsity football this year. So there aren't a lot of games that you can find late in the summer for week 4 openings, but Newman had one, Rock Island had one. It's not a natural fit between those two teams. credit to Newman for playing this game, because the Rock Island's about 6 times the size of Sterling Newman. And they've traded punch for punch here. We're heading into overtime, and that's after Rock Island ran back the opening kick of the game. So Sterling Newman is really solid down on defense in this one.
Definitely. And it looks like we have a final from DeKalb and Matea Valley, 48-23.
Okay.
So DeKalb getting a nice win over Matea Valley. So maybe if Eddie does have some time, maybe he'll go ahead and check in with us, because we know he was out covering that one. We have another update, some other scoring updates. We had Dixon, who had the 30-0 win over Genoa Kingston. We talked to Jared Shaner about that one. We have Byron, a 69-0 win over North Boone. Can I just ask here, is Byron going to set a record of some kind for most points scored in a season at this point? Because I just feel like they've averaged over 40.
Well, I mean, they're over 60, to be completely honest with you. But I mean, this is a program that scored 700 points in a year multiple times. So not exactly an easy job if you're hired to be the scoreboard operator at Byron High School. You're kept busy.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like we also have another update here from that St. Ignatius Marist game. We have a 23-20 score in favor of St. Ignatius. Marist connects on their 4th attempt at a downfield pass for a touchdown, but the point after was blocked.
Okay.
Still early 4th quarter. Not entirely sure if that's going to have an effect or not, because again, we talk about it in high school, I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like we haven't talked about special teams more than how it's being talked about this season.
Yeah.
It's been pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And again, from Michael, we have that 21-14 score, Nazareth over IC Catholic. Thank you very much for that one, Michael. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, so we're rolling along here, and looks like we also have we've got another coach who is going to be talking to us from Minooka. It's Matt Harding. So Matt, how are you doing tonight? Thanks a lot for joining us.
Good. Thanks for having me on. How are you guys doing tonight?
Not too bad, Coach. How are you?
Not bad.
Well, obviously picked up the win tonight over Romeoville, and kind of did a nice job in getting that done. What do you think were some of the keys for you in making sure you got that victory?
Yeah, the keys, we started out strong right away. We went out there and we lost a coin toss and ended up receiving the football and kind of just drove it straight down the field. I think we did punt one time tonight, with a 52-16 win.
Yeah, so obviously your guys have really kind of gotten back on track the last couple of weeks, a situation where I guess that week 2 game woke up your offense and got them going back on the right track after that loss to Nequa.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was kind of a good wake-in call for our offense here to get back on track, to get doing the small things, focus on the small things, making sure our head placement and our footstep and all those kind of things, that make up the play, kind of just focus on that and hammer that. And we're off to running pretty strong here.
Coach, you go into the conference portion of your schedule next week. Where do you feel like you're at as you head into that very difficult challenge that the SBC tends to provide?
Yeah, I think we're pretty strong here. We faced a really good Nequa team, and they gave us everything that they had. We lost 10-6 to them, but we've also shown that, we can our defense can hang with anybody, and our offense is putting up a ton of points and yards. I mean, almost had 500 yards of offense tonight.
All right. Well, Coach, great job. Congratulations on the win heading into week 5. We really do appreciate your time, and we hope you have a good rest of your night.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Thanks, Coach.
Of course. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, I mean, for Minooka, as you were saying, conference play is usually pretty tough.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about Oswego a little bit earlier. Oswego East back on track tonight with what appears to be a pretty comfortable win over Plainfield South. Yorkville still a strong program, even though they got upset last week. It's a stacked league. So every week provides a challenge. And so for Minooka to go into that conference with a 3-1 record, got to like where they're at.
Definitely. All right, live with Friday Night Drive, Jimmy Musial alongside with Steve Soucie. Again, a lot of games are starting to wrap up here. I have another update from what looks like Sandburg and Lockport. Sandburg is up 30-28 right now with 4:48 left to play in that game. So very close. Very, very, very close.
Sandberg showing some guts. They scored that touchdown on a 4th and 2 play from the 8-yard line to take that lead. So, ended up, going in there and then kicking the extra point after the fact. So in that situation, a field goal wouldn't have done them all that much good. So probably felt like they had to go for that, especially with under 5 remaining, but a gutsy play and they got it done.
And we have some other updates here. We have Oswego East with a 41-3 win over Plainfield South.
Yes.
We have we have Lamont, who got a nice win over Tinley Park tonight, 51-6.
Okay.
And we have Lincoln against Manual. Lincoln is up 48-6 right now in the fourth quarter. Monmouth Roseville over Riverdale right now. That is what looks to be a final at 55-22. Vandalia getting a win 41-19 over Southwestern.
Some more SPC updates. We just got done talking with Matt Harding with their win over Romeoville. West Aurora picks up a 21-7 win over Plainfield East. Yorkville gets back on track with a 28-0 win over Plainfield Central. And we mentioned it earlier, Joliet West 17-10 win over Plainfield North, a big win for the Tigers in the battle of the Tigers. So, Joliet West picking up a nice win there going into their conference season with a 3-1 record.
Absolutely. It's going to be, and it's going to be tough. So we also have a score right now of 35-0 Morris up on Woodstock North. And we actually have a nice little clip for you from Griffin's. I'm going to totally mess this up. Griffin's Weirs with an 18-yard touchdown run. And again, Morris up 35-0 Woodstock North.
Griffin struck that kid. Nice.
Here's the thing. I love when the videos that we're able to get, if we're able to pull them, the background noise and the things that you can hear from people, because basically what that person just said was, "Oh, Griffin absolutely trucked that kid." I mean, it was clear. I'm sorry. It was clear as day. And I'm so sorry for the kid that it happened to. I really am. But that was a nice run by Griffin's Weirs. Morris up 35-0 on Woodstock North. Hey, Morris is looking pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, this is what Morris tends to do in the regular season. They really have done a nice job of manhandling most of the opponents that they play in the Kishwaukee River Interstate 8 Conference. They just have really put together a nice dominant record, and they tend to put up quite a few points. So, when we look at Morris moving forward, you start to peek ahead on that schedule, start to look towards Sycamore, because that's going to be the game that's going to ultimately probably decide who wins that conference and puts themselves in the best possible position for the postseason, because that tends to be the way that always goes in that conference.
Yeah, definitely. So some more final scores here from the NUIC. Lena Winslow again with a 52-8 win over Dakota. We have Saranac, Michigan 32-20 over Galena. Fulton, Stockton. Fulton ends up winning that one 40-16. Forreston over EPC 34-20. Dupec 55-0 win over West Carroll. And then in 8-man, we got an 8-man football as well. Amboy is, if I'm not mistaken, I'm reading this, it's a forfeit win over Quest.
Yes.
Polo with a 48-44 win over Ridgewood. I know that one was pretty close. River Ridge with a 21-20 over Blue Ridge, and then Milledgeville 50-24 over Orangeville.
Got an update on that overtime game that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Sterling Newman has just punched in a 2-point conversion to win that game over Rock Island 22-20. So like we were talking about before, a huge win for a 1A program to go in and beat a 6A program like that in a non-conference game in the middle of the season. So that was definitely an interesting situation that developed there. So also have an update on the IC Catholic Nazareth game. IC Catholic 21-14 lead right now as Joey Gliotta collects a screen pass to give IC Catholic that lead.
Okay. Well, I mean, is that one probably in the fourth quarter at this point?
Yeah.
Is it
We don't
late?
have a game time on it yet,
Gotcha.
but that's
okay.
Actually, I got another update from that, and we're moving all over the place. Nazareth bounced back with a pair of touchdowns, takes the lead back, now leads 28-21, 7:22 left in that game. So Logan Malachek to Trenton Walker on the latest touchdown. So now that game is 28-21 in favor of Nazareth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like we got to take. I feel like you just need a break. You need to take a breath after that
Yeah.
one. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like watching the updates come in from Nazareth Montini, where it was just, hey, block field goal. Oh, by the way, another block field goal for the win. Like it's just
Another wild
crazy.
one here in Catholic League play. Fenwick just scored on a 47-yard touchdown pass. There's 3:23 left in that game. St. Francis currently holds a 16-14 lead over the Friars.
All right. Got some other. We'll go back to some other scores here. It looks like Rochester has a 56-0 lead over Jacksonville. That one is in the fourth quarter. Last time that we had checked, I'm going to go ahead and give this a nice little refresh though. Richmond Burton was up. I believe it said 42-0 over Sandwich. I don't know if that's very surprising.
No.
But we also have Taft over Lane Tech right now. Fourth quarter, 20-7 in favor of Taft. Harlem over Guilford in the fourth quarter right now, 20-12. Let's see. We just keep going down. Marion Catholic over De La Salle, 36-6 as a final.
Yeah, that Marion Catholic team seems to go up and down from week to week, but that's a good, solid win for them. Gets them back even. They had a wild one that they lost to Homewood Flossmoor a couple of weeks ago. Another Catholic League final that just came in, DePaul Prep with a 38-14 victory over Leo.
Okay. We also have, Kankakee getting the 48-6 win over Riverside Brookfield. So Kankakee just continues to look good every week.
That was a battle of 3-0 teams heading into this game. So kind of a little bit of a statement there for Kankakee as they moved to 4-0. Took over the number 1 ranking in the 6A poll this week. So the K's are obviously doing some good things.
And speaking of doing good things, we've got York, who right now they're in the third quarter, and that is a 49-21 lead over Oak Park River Forest. Again, this York team they're just clicking on all cylinders, it seems, especially at this point of the season.
Well, I'm going to break in here with a little update from Lockport and Sandburg. Lockport has the ball with under 2 minutes to play, down 2 points. So they just completed a pass to get to the Sandburg 40. So we might be setting up another fantastic finish in Lockport, in a Lockport game, as Sandburg currently holds a 2-point lead. The last I saw, the game was under 2 minutes, and Lockport had just moved the ball to the Sandburg 40. So getting into Superfoot range there if need be. So we'll try to keep informed of that one as we go.
By the way, I've got 2 very interesting updates for you right here. So Johnsburg just got through taking its first lead since the first quarter. They now it's a 2-yard quarterback sneak by AJ Bravieri on a 4th and goal on the 2-yard line. Johnsburg is now up 18-17 with 3:23 left in the fourth quarter in that one. So as you were saying, it's coming down to the wire. By the way, Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way Central. Lincoln Way West only has a 7-point lead right now. 21-14. 8:17 left in the fourth quarter. Lincoln Way Central recovered a fumble. And then he hit Michael Cool hit Braden Meyer for a 23-yard touchdown pass.
Okay.
And by the way, we also had a final over with Batavia and St. Charles North. We have Jake Bartles in, who is here to talk about that. Jake,
guys, how are you?
Good. Looks like Batavia was able to pull away. And as you were posting about, before the game actually started, you took a picture of the Batavia cheer section. They had the Revenge Tour banner.
Yeah, that was more of a jab at what St. Charles North coined it for last year. Obviously, they were able to exact that, if you will. Really what this game came down to was Batavia was able to really run the football effectively in the fourth quarter. St. Charles North not able to overcome mistakes, penalties, interceptions, kind of similar to what we saw last week. So at some point, Batavia is just able to ground and pound and got 2 or 3 guys that can do it. I don't have the stats all totaled right now, but Charlie Welpley is just awesome for what he does for them. He even had a big pass down to tight end CJ Valenti that set up a touchdown. So big part of the win.
Batavia just seems like a program time and time again that if you give them extra opportunities, they really make you pay. Was that kind of the situation tonight too, Jake?
Yeah, they just executed a little bit more than St. Charles North did. There was an interception that Ethan Plum had early in the third quarter. It really wasn't his fault. It went through a kid's hands. Batavia was able to take that and get a score a while later. But again, when you're able to rely on a really reliable running game, whether it's Charlie Welpley, Zach Randberg, Ryan Bowe, it really opens things up downfield and able to finish things off.
All right, Jake. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. We really do appreciate your time. We hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And again, thank you.
Take care, gentlemen.
All right, we're going to jump right into it with Alex Kentucky, who was out covering Cary Grove against Jacobs. Cary Grove ended up getting a pretty big win here, Alex, and they ran away with it.
Yeah, 27-14, the same score as that PR Huntley game ended, and we're going to get 4-0 Prairie Ridge at 4-0 Cary Grove next week. That's going to be huge. I'm sure Joe Stevenson's gonna love going to that one.
Defense again for Cary Grove seems like it kind of just answered the bell and just did what they had to do in the clutch. You kind of get used to seeing that from the Trojans after a while, but they kind of the driving force tonight.
Oh, for sure. And actually, a key play in this game. It was only 14-7 Cary Grove at this point, about halfway through the third quarter, and Jacobs had a interception return, almost go for a touchdown, but they got down to the 10, and Cary Grove's defense held them from there. I think they got maybe 1 yard. And then after that, Cary Grove goes right down the field, scores, makes it 21-7 there. And then the next possession for Jacobs, there's a pick six by Preston Walsh on Cary Grove.
All right. Well, again, Cary Grove coming away with a pretty big win here, being undefeated and everything. And Alex, thank you very much for your time. We really do appreciate it. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
It was Alex Kentucky, who was out covering Cary Grove against Jacobs. And again, Cary Grove with a phenomenal defensive effort to hold off Jacobs, winning 27-14. Again, it was the same exact score as the Prairie Ridge Huntley game. So Prairie Ridge and Cary Grove, a battle of the 4-0s, will, they'll kick off next week.
Yeah, I have to say that I'm totally shocked that these two programs are 4-0 heading into week 5.
I can see it on your face. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. By the way, again, Dundee Crown getting a 13-7 win over McHenry earlier tonight to end their 9-game losing streak. By the way, we have another touchdown from Darion Dupree. This is from 5 yards out. And Mount Carmel is now up 38-7. Pretty sure you can probably count that as a win for them against St. Rita. There's about 2 minutes left in the game.
Couple of updates from games that were coming down to the wire. St. Lawrence scores a touchdown with 22 seconds left in the game. They lead Providence 31-24 as that game is winding down to its conclusion. Lockport, update from Lockport. Lockport and Sandburg comes down to a potential game-winning field goal attempt, and Superfoot is blocked. Sandburg wins that game over Lockport 30-28. Lockport dropping to 3-1 on the season.
That is just, man, you cannot make you know what that I don't even know what to say. I mean, did he have to sprint onto the field or something in order to get it off? I'm pretty sure he did not.
Yeah,
but hey,
things happened.
Great job though by Sandburg.
Yep.
You said that they were a sticky bunch.
Yep.
So that's great.
Aaron Harvey with a 6-yard touchdown run for IC Catholic. Nazareth and IC Catholic tied at 28. 1:14 left in the contest.
All right. So we do actually have Eddie Carifio, who is here with us now. He was out covering DeKalb and Mateo Valley. Well, Eddie, looks like DeKalb was able to run away with it.
Yeah, they took control at the end of halftime there, or the end of the first half. Kept all the momentum going into the second half. Scored 3 touchdowns out of the gate in the first maybe 5 minutes. They got 100 yards on their first 3 plays. And that was with the first play, an interception. So 3 plays, or not an interception, I'm sorry, an incompletion. 3 plays, 2 completions, both to Devon Grant from Cole Latimer. That's 100 total yards. And then, boom, run away with it. Tacked on 1 more touchdown. Didn't quite get to the running clock, so the game kind of lingers. Matea did get some points off the DeKalb second team. 48-23 your final.
I guess what was the difference there, Eddie, that caused them to kind of flip the switch there?
Yeah, I think they did score on every possession. The first team scored on every possession it had that game. Okay. So they just were changing from the slow, methodical drives, kind of matching Matea, to doing the quick home run strike that they are very, very capable of doing. Most of their scoring, the 1 touchdown they had against Sycamore, and I think all their scores against Plainfield South were on the big plays, and that showed up late in the first half, early in the second half for them to put the game away. Also should point out, Matea Valley is just absolutely turning into a mash unit right now. They lost 2 running backs today, their top 2 backs. Plus they were already without their quarterback, had to move the receiver to their top receiver to quarterback. He had a solid game. I'm not sure how to say his last name, Van Velde, I believe, had completed his first couple passes, but like Coach Barpet said after the game, if people know they're going to throw, that's not their strength. And they were forced to throw, and it didn't work out so good for them. So it's and Parpet said that he also expects both running backs to miss substantial time as his first reaction. So it's going to be possibly rough for Matea if they can't rally around some stuff here.
All right. Well, Eddie, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really do appreciate it. As always, it's a pleasure, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Hey, no problem. See you guys.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you. All right. So we do have we have another game that's pretty close right now. It's Willowbrook. I'm not sure who is Willowbrook playing tonight. Do we have either way?
Downers Grove South.
Oh,
yep. Downers Grove South.
Downers Grove South. All right. So we have a clip for you actually where AJ Palicki to Charlie Siegler, which ties it at 21. All right.
Strong play there.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. So again, Willowbrook and Downers Grove South are tied at 21. It is now at the top of the hour, and we are going to take a quick commercial break, but we will be right back for some more high school football fun here on Live with Friday Night Drive.
Come to Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce. Dine in, carry out, and catering available. Located in Rock Falls and Sterling, Illinois, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try our original Chicken George today.
Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
Need a roof, vinyl windows, or doors? Call R.E. Duchesne Construction. With an A+ rating for the Better Business Bureau and servicing Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties, call R.E. Duchesne. 815-722-2821. Financing available. Find out more online at reduchene.com.
Come to Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce. Dine in, carry out, and catering available. Located in Rock Falls and Sterling, Illinois, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try our original Chicken George today.
Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
Need a roof, vinyl windows, or doors? Call R.E. Duchesne Construction. With an A-plus rating for the Better Business Bureau and servicing Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties, call R.E. Duchesne. 815-722-2821. Financing available. Find out more online at reduchene.com.
And we're back with Live with Friday Night Drive. I'm Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie. We have been getting some updates from the Marengo-Johnsburg game pretty much the entire night from Tim Froelich. We have a bit of an unfortunate update for you at this time. I'm going to go ahead and read the post by Tim. We have an injury stoppage in the Johnsburg Marengo game that is resulting in a long delay. A Marengo player is injured. He's moving his hands and feet, but EMS are putting him in a brace and taking him to the hospital. His parents are here, and he just gave them a thumbs up. We never like to hear about a situation like this. We truly hope that the player is okay. We'll try to give you updates as we go along here. So stick to FridayNightDrive.com. Again, just something that you never want to see.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's just one of those things that unfortunately happens from time to time, and best wishes to that young man. Hopefully everything comes out okay.
And like I said, we'll keep tabs on it. We'll try to update you as much as possible. We did have some other scores that have been going final here.
I've got a whole bunch of Catholic League scores here. Mount Carmel over St. Rita, a 38-7 final. St. Ignatius now leading Marist 30-27. That game is fairly late. Joliet Catholic claims a 28-13 win over Niles Notre Dame. IC Catholic and Nazareth, as far as I know, are still tied at 28, probably heading towards overtime in that one. St. Francis up 16-14 on Fenwick. St. Viator defeats St. Patrick 28-21. Carmel wins 28-14 over Marmion, like we said before. Marian Catholic 36-6 over De La Salle. DePaul Prep 38-14 over Leo. St. Lawrence beats Providence 31-24. And very late in the game, Montini leads Bennett 21-10.
So, with any of those scores that you just read off, is there anything that just kind of catches your eye a little bit?
The Providence loss surprises me considerably to St. Lawrence, but that's a good win for St. Lawrence and the kind of win that they kind of needed moving forward to kind of get them back into the conversation. It's always kind of hard to tell. St. Lawrence plays a kind of an odd non-conference schedule, so it's very hard to indicate early in the season how they match up against teams. But this win over Providence shows that they're in the mix, legitimately in the mix. So nice win for them. That St. Viator, St. Patrick's game has turned into a razor thin margin between those two programs, and that could turn out to be a pretty big win for St. Viator in the long run.
So throughout the night, we have had, we've been putting out clips for you and showing them off, especially for nice moments throughout games and everything. And we actually have another nice little highlight reel for you for some other plays that have been happening throughout the later parts of the night.
To 16.
Griffin.
All right, some great highlights for you from things happening throughout the night here on Live with Friday Night Drive. We did have another game that went final. It was Seneca against Elmwood Park, 73-13, and we have head coach Terry Maxwell, who will be joining us here. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great.
Coach, it certainly looks like you've got that offense firing on all cylinders. What's going on with the Fighting Irish right now?
Yeah, we had a good night tonight after losing our game last week to Westmont, and had a little chance to get some guys rested and healthy. And we came out and just kind of had our way with them tonight. Started off with a kick return right away from Asher Hamby, and from there we just had a really good night. It was 6-13 at half, and I think we had about 400 and some yards of offense by half.
So I have to ask, how did the group of the Irish House of Pancakes do tonight?
They had a lot of pancakes tonight. They did a nice job. Our guys, they do pride themselves. We've tried to hype up our O-line for years here and get them to really appreciate what they do. And as a lineman, you don't get a lot of credit. You don't get a lot of glory. But that's kind of their bragging rights to one another is the IHOP shirt and the IHOP stickers that we have on our helmets.
Yeah, a little bit of an inside joke there between for people that don't know, the Seneca offensive linemen are awarded with T-shirts and helmet decals that if you get a pancake block that reads the Irish House of Pancakes. It was by far my favorite summer football T-shirt that I saw this year. So
yeah, they get a different one every season too. So if they're a 3-year award winner of that, they'll get 3 different IHOP shirts. So yeah.
I mean, after the week 1 game, Coach, you really haven't been pushed all that much. How do you keep your guys focused on the big prizes later on, with these comfortable wins like this?
Yeah, for sure. That's something we talked about after tonight's game is, sometimes you can get away with things that maybe you couldn't when the opponent's tougher than you. And, when those postseason games come or, we have some real tough games at the end of our schedule here. And, we just got to keep stacking some good habits at practice, and you got to make those count. And, it's hard for the kids mentally this week when you get a forfeit, and we thought we could have found a game and things kind of didn't materialize there with lack of officials. And it's kind of an issue across the country. We had a team in Wisconsin we thought we could match up with, but didn't end up working. But, it's hard when you don't really have that end of the week goal like we did last week. And, but we worked on our skills and we kept working on getting better. And, it's credit to the kids for staying in it mentally when they didn't have that at the end of the week.
All right. Well, Coach, again, congratulations on the big win. Best of luck to you going into week 5, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Coach.
So we'll keep things moving along here. Joliet West had a really big win over Plainfield North, and our very own Steve Millar was there to cover.
There we go. Hey guys.
Hey Steve.
Yeah, big win for Joliet West to get the 3-1. Big defensive battle tonight with Plainfield North. Micah McNair for Joliet West, unquestionably the hero tonight. The junior linebacker had 3 interceptions. He returned 180 yards for a touchdown, and that was the game-winning score. I put him up 14-10 late in the third quarter. They added a field goal and held on 17-10. The bad news for Joliet West is their starting quarterback, their senior Juan Rico, got injured early in the game, was on crutches. Don't know what the status is going forward, but they found a way to pull it out without him tonight.
Yeah, this is quite the revolution for Joliet West. I was at this game last year where, Joliet West practically got ran off the field against Plainfield North. Was there something that you were seeing tonight that Joliet West is doing a lot better or a lot differently that's kind of carrying them to this little surge that they're on right now?
Yeah, I think they're just what they've said is that they're believing now. They had a big win over Morris, and I think they're confident, especially on defense. I mean, big plays all over the field on defense. They had 4 interceptions. Plainfield North's been struggling offensively, I think, all season. But, Joliet West was definitely ready defensively, and they found a way. They didn't score other than the field goal offensively after Rico got injured. Rico ran for a 20-yard touchdown the first drive, and they got injured on the second drive. But without him, they were still moving the ball enough to swing field position, and it was kind of that type of game where that mattered. So,
all right, man. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. We really do appreciate it, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And we had another final game. We had another final that for Mount Carmel and St. Rita. We actually have Michael Dwojak, who is out covering that game tonight. Michael, Mount Carmel, essentially Mount Carmeled. I mean, that's basically, I think, all you can say.
That's pretty much all you can really say at this point. I mean, it seemed like we were going to have a shootout based on the first 3 possessions where Mount Carmel scored, St. Rita scored, and then Mount Carmel scored again to do a 14-7 game. But that was pretty much it for the Mustangs. They just weren't able to keep up. Coach Martin Hopkins admitted after the game that, the offense was kind of what they were doing, but also what Mount Carmel was able to do. And they couldn't really keep up with the Caravan, who just continued to move forward offensively like they have pretty much for like the past 2 years at this point.
It just kind of feels like Mount Carmel and many of their games recently are just kind of imposing their will on their opponents. They'll get to you eventually. That's just kind of what it feels like the Caravan are all about right now.
Yeah, it seems like that. And the funny thing is, I was talking to Darian Dupree after the game, and he had like a great game once again, obviously. But he was like, we can take this to another. Like, it seemed like he wasn't really happy with their performance. Like, he thought, they left some points on the board. They probably could have, execute a little bit better, which is kind of crazy to think about. But, I think this offense knows, they got a new quarterback, they got some new faces, so they're still trying to figure some stuff out. But I think they know that they can still get to another level. And that's kind of a scary thing, especially for the rest of the state to think about, where you put up 38 points, you got a running back who can do everything, a quarterback who has kind of stepped in pretty easily, and wide receivers who are doing pretty well as well.
Yeah, it definitely leaves the rest of 7A probably a little bit concerned about how they're going to try to figure out how to stop this machine-like juggernaut right now, because that's certainly the way they're playing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And thank you.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.
All right, Michael Dwojak out covering Mount Carmel and St. Rita. Mount Carmel getting the win 38-7. Again, live with Friday Night Drive. Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie. Again, want to take another moment to thank our awesome sponsors, awesome sponsor SGKR Law. Absolutely fantastic. Really do appreciate you. I also, by the way, I have an update. I do have an update from Tim Frolig regarding it's not entirely specific, but it says the Marengo player being taken to the hospital had movement in his hands and was speaking, hands and feet, and was speaking with paramedics.
That's good to hear.
So that is really, really good to hear. Again, a very, something very unfortunate happening in that, happened in that Johnsburg Marengo game. But that is a really good update from Tim Frolig. So very happy to see that. We have, let's see, an update here from Morris. Looks like Coach Thorson from Morris got his 100th career win tonight as Morris beats Woodstock North 49-7. So Morris continuing to roll.
Another easy win for them in conference play. So like I said, like we were talking about before, it just seems like we're heading on to that normal collision course between Morris and Sycamore. A couple of other interesting finals. Neuqua Valley picked up a 17-7 win over Naperville North tonight. That has gone final between St. Ignatius and Marist. St. Ignatius with a 30-27 victory over Marist. So pretty big win for the Wolfpack tonight in that game. So those are a couple of interesting finals that have just come in. As far as I know, the IC Catholic Nazareth game is in some sort of delay. The game is still tied. There's under a minute to play, but that's all that I know at this point in time. I haven't seen an update for a couple of minutes. So that's definitely worth taking a little notice of as they kind of wind that one down and possibly head to overtime.
Okay. And by the way, there is another one that is headed into overtime, but I do have to mention that R.E. Duchesne Construction is a licensed and fully bonded exterior contractor serving Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties. R.E. Duchesne has an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call 815-722-2821 for all your home improvement needs. Financing available. Check us out on the web, reduchene.com. And I was talking about a game that is going to overtime, and I don't know if you've been able to see it, but it is a battle of Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way Central.
There we go.
21-21. We are going into overtime, and let me tell you how this actually happened, because Rob Osterly actually had a post about 10 minutes ago. 72-yard touchdown pass from Cool to Jimmy Herget with 1:45 left ties the game at 21 apiece.
Wow, big time play right there in that situation. You know, I had a feeling that the way Lincoln Way Central had played, they weren't going to just roll over when things weren't going their way in the half. So interesting that that's going into the overtime situation. I'm not sure what Lincoln Way West's kicking situation is. I do know that Lincoln Way Central has a very good kicker. So, so that if we come into that situation in the overtime where that comes into play, could be a difference maker there. But definitely a dogfight there. I wasn't expecting it to be, but you can never count district rivals out when they lock horns like that. So a good one in New Lenox tonight.
And by the way, I actually just saw this update. I believe the reason why the Nazareth IC Catholic game, I believe that the reason why it's delayed is because lights went out.
Okay. All right. That makes a little bit more sense.
Sounds like there are some power issues happening over there. So we'll try to keep you up to date. Excuse me. So we do have another reporter who's going to be checking in with us as his game went final. We do have JT Peddlety. I'm pretty sure I got that one right this time. So JT, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. How are you guys doing?
Not bad, not bad.
Streeter High School has a way of playing some of the latest games in the state. So ended up Mantino 47, Streeter 26. Was a pretty good game until Mantino scored 3 times in the final 3.5 minutes of the third quarter, and that including a big scoop fumble return for a touchdown for Aiden Dotson, and that pretty much turned the tide of the game. So really good one. Mantino's sophomore quarterback Connor Herod was impressive. Threw for 323 yards and 5 touchdowns tonight. After the game, the Mantino coach, RJ Haynes, called it kind of he's arrived. So really impressive showing.
I saw your I saw your tweet real early in the game. Was Christian Benning able to get on the field tonight for Streeter, or did he not go?
He was not. The talk around the stadium was that he was ready to go. He was going to play. But backup quarterback Isaiah Weibel, a junior, ended up taking the first snap and staying the whole game. Christian Benning was on the sideline wearing a headset and carrying an iPad. I think he was listening to what they were doing, everything in full uniform, but never took the field, unfortunately.
Streeter's just seeming to have a lot of trouble keeping people off the scoreboard right now. Is that just inexperience, or just trying to figure it out, or it just seemed like they've been giving up a lot of points recently?
Yeah, Streeter head coach Kyle Tudd mentioned after the game. I asked him specifically almost that exact same question, Steve. Great minds think alike, but he mentioned to me that they're a program that's not used to having leads in second halves, and they just got to figure out, okay, we got it. How do we keep it? And that's something that trying to instill in this team. It's a team, Christian Benning is a senior quarterback for them, and they do have a handful of other seniors, but largely as a sophomore and junior group that they're trying to look at this as a 2-3 year project to try and get the team, back into playing competitive football week after week.
All right, JT. Well, thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure. We hope you enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you for your time.
Have a great night, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
okay. So we've got some other scores that look like actually there was a score that I needed to talk to you about that I was watching as JT was talking. Bolingbrook up on Homewood Flossmoor 21-14.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised that Bolingbrook won that game. The score surprises me more than anything else. I thought both teams were capable. I thought this was one of those games tonight that we were going to see a giant score on. like big amount of points, especially considering how many points Bolingbrook threw on the board just last week. Homewood Flossmoor in week 2, 50 plus. So I thought we were just going to get a real offensive scoring battle here, and it turned out to not happen. This is another one of those games. You have, Bolingbrook and Homewood Flossmoor both in the same conference, play very difficult schedules now that they're in the league schedules. So every win you can get is really valuable in getting you into a situation where you ultimately punch that invitation to get into the playoffs. So that's a pretty big win for Bolingbrook, especially coming off that loss last week. So getting them in that situation, over a team that entered with a better record or a similar record to them, those are the kinds of, when you look back at the season and say, what was the pivot for us? This one might have been the pivot for Bolingbrook.
So, do you think that maybe Flossmoor and Bolingbrook, would they be considered pretty high up there as far as like the favorites for the conference, or do they still have some pretty good competition?
This is only a 5-team conference, but when you look at the other 3 members, you've got Lincoln Way East, you've got Lockport, and you've got Sandburg, who all of a sudden showed up tonight. So those are the 5 teams in that league. So I expect that we're going to have a lot of bloody brawls inside of conference play in here. Lincoln Way East is obviously your favorite, but all 4 of those other teams have shown signs this year of being very plucky. So I think that's going to be, as this develops over the rest of the season, a lot of these league games are going to be really good ones.
And so looking at the chat here, it looks like we have some people asking about the Joliet Catholic and Niles Notre Dame, I believe, because we have Daniel Hillard here who gave an update. That was 28-13.
Was
28 to 13. Yes. Okay. Yeah. In favor of Joliet Catholic. So thank you, Daniel. And Brooke, just letting you know, that was that ended up being the final score. Joliet Catholic coming away with the win tonight. By the way, it sounds like Nazareth and IC Catholic are coming down to the wire, and it might look like another overtime game. So 2 overtime games potentially for the slate.
Yeah, and this one was one of those, when you looked at it on paper, Nazareth needed it so much, to win this game tonight. But on paper, it looked like this was just going to be a drag out, a big time fight between 2 teams that are, probably basically on the same level. Not even an ounce surprised that we're seeing extra period in this one.
By the way, it looks like that overtime game between Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way Central just went final. Lincoln Way West coming away with a 28-21 win. West scores first in overtime on a 6-yard pass. Central, let's see, it was Central's ball from the 10. Sounds like Lincoln Way West was able to come away with the victory.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that before that game went into the overtime period. Lincoln Way West, that could turn out to be really big for their confidence, because that would have been the kind of game that if they had squandered that lead that they had built in the first half and ended up losing that game, that could have been devastating. So a big win for Lincoln Way West gets them back to 3-1, gives them a lot more breathing room heading into the second half of the season instead of potentially falling to 2-2. That's Lincoln Way Central's first loss. Not to say that anybody can afford to take a loss, but Lincoln Way Central could afford to take a loss more than Lincoln Way West could have in this game. So not a devastating loss for Lincoln Way Central, but certainly one they would have liked to have had. But really a surprising result there in a lot of ways. But I guess you can't ever count out a team like Lincoln Way West in a situation like that. Backup quarterback, stepping into those shoes, doing a nice job. But he did a really nice job earlier in the year, so I'm sure they had confidence in him that he'd be able to step up and kind of lead that offense. So a really good win for Lincoln Way West. They're one that I think at the end of the season, when you're marking them all up, it will be pretty pivotal for the Warriors.
Absolutely. And Lincoln Way West, again, coming away with a 28-21 victory over Lincoln Way Central. That one is final in overtime. Just giving you a scoring update from the Marengo-Johnsburg game. It looks like David Lopez has with a 7-yard touchdown run, which gives Marengo a 25-18 lead over Johnsburg with just 1:53 left in the fourth quarter. So again, that one also coming down to the wire, and we knew it was going to be close as we kept getting updates from Tim.
Yeah.
But and it's proven to be just that.
Another score that we just saw final in that conference as well. LaSalle Peru ending up with a 20-15 win over Plano. So that game, low scoring, fought down to the end as well. So a lot of interesting games tonight in the Kishwaukee River Interstate 8.
And going back to some other finals here, it looks like Yorkville came away with a 28-0 win over Plainfield Central. I remember you talking about that Yorkville team, that they're still pretty tough.
Yeah, they are. And it was one of the, when they lost that game last week, that dropped them to 1-2. And, tonight needing that win to get back to the 500 mark before they got into conference play. And like we've been talking about all night, Yorkville's one of those teams in that very, very difficult SPC conference on that side of the conference where, you're lucky and fortunate if you can get 2 or 3 wins in league play, let alone more than that. So Yorkville had to be in 2-2 after losing that game in week 3. So bounce back nice for them, good win for them. And Plainfield Central will try to regroup now that they go into their division a little bit more at their level in terms of that, although Joliet West has now kind of maybe established themselves as the favorite on that side of the conference.
And a really quick question for you too. We talk about Normal Community and how, they're a fantastic program, and it seems like they're just clicking right now. They're doing really well. I have a final score here from Normal West and Urbana. Normal West ends up winning 65-14. Not necessarily because of the score, but I've known Normal West to be a pretty decent program as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they're 6A.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure both of them are in the same. Are they in the same conference?
No.
Normal West
Yeah,
and
they are
Normal
in the same
Community.
conference,
Okay.
yeah.
Could a team like Normal West potentially challenge this Normal Community program with the way that things are going for them right now?
Well, they actually already played.
You know what? That's embarrassing on my part.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's just go ahead and skip past that.
Yep.
Normal Community is just doing really good things. So we'll go ahead and I'm just going to move on. We've got Glenwood over Springfield, 33-0. We have Hononegah over Freeport, 49-6. Let's see. What else do we have? Whitney Young over Curry, 43-0. I do remember seeing Chris Lake South actually came away with a 10-point win tonight over Hampshire. So that was a 38-28 win for Chris Lake South.
Okay. So IC Catholic apparently is at the NAS 42-yard line with 6 seconds left in regulation. At this point in time, they just Nazareth just took a timeout. So apparently, obviously, that's probably too far for a field goal attempt. So IC is probably going to run one more play here to try to avoid overtime in that game between those two schools.
All right, and we'll keep you updated on that. And as we are doing that, I want you to come to Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce. Dining, carry out, and catering available. Locations in Rock Falls, Sterling, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try the original Chicken George today. Please add this. Good Lord. I already did. It's totally fine. Anyways, also want to take this time to thank SGKR Law, a wonderful sponsor for Live with Friday Night Drive. Again, I'm Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie, giving you updates on all the scores that are happening around the area and in the state. We've talked to a good amount of coaches tonight too, who got some really good wins, especially for Dixon, who came away with the win over Genoa Kingston. Seneca ended up getting a really good win as well. Those kids are going to get some more IHOP t-shirts and everything. So that's awesome. We talked to Francis Lowren. Cole City had a great win tonight as well. Has there been anything else that's really as we continue to wait for updates for IC Catholic and Nazareth?
Officially heading to overtime.
Heading to overtime. All righty. So IC Catholic and Nazareth heading into overtime. How about Fenwick getting a nice win tonight?
I actually didn't see the final. Did we have a final?
I believe so. It was 7. I believe it was 17-16 on the screen there. There you go. 17-16 over Wheaton St. Francis.
Must have came down to a last second field goal. I mean, that's important for Fenwick, just because I feel like I beat this into the ground, but so many difficult games left on their schedule the rest of the way, and that's a tough loss for St. Francis, because it felt like they had kind of maybe rallied there, run together some offense there, got in control of what appeared to be that game. But Fenwick kind of stole it away from them there at the end. So it's hard to sort out the conferences right now and some of the situations in the Catholic League, because like you look a couple of weeks ago and Fenwick beat St. Ignatius and St. Ignatius beats Marist tonight. And the normal stacking in the league the blocks are not stacking like you would expect them to stack at this point in time. So you got to knock down the block stack and restack them again. So it's been challenging to try to figure that out. And I think that's the way it's going to be almost every week in this league, especially when you have the interdivision games where supposedly they are pretty balanced, and that's what bore out tonight. There were a lot of close games in the Catholic League for the most part between fairly evenly matched teams. So a lot of these games are going to come down to the wire, but that's a really important win for Fenwick.
Definitely. Congratulations to Fenwick for getting the big win over Wheaton St. Francis. Looking at some other scoring updates here, looks like there was you may have mentioned this one, I'm not sure, but Nequa Valley with a 17-7 win over Naperville North. It looks like we have, Mahomet Seymour. I don't believe that score would be right unless they have a really late start. Second quarter for Mahomet Seymour and Charleston, 29-0 at this point. Let's see, and let's try to go to the Fox Valley, see if there were any other games.
I just saw some pictures from Plunkett Park. The lights did indeed go out because I could barely tell that there were any people in the photos that I just saw.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So got it. So
they're back on now, though. They are in overtime. IC Catholic's long pass attempted to end. Here's an interesting score that I just saw. Chicago Hope with a 30-29 victory over Wheaton Academy tonight in the Chicagoland Christian Conference. Wheaton Academy entered that game with an undefeated record. Hope had a loss. They got beat by Aurora Christian in the previous week. So definitely showing that league is also going to have some churn. The last I saw, Marion Central Catholic was winning comfortably in their game. I think they're another team that you have to put in that conversation near the top of that conference. But it looks like it's going to be a wild year in the newly instituted Chicagoland Christian Conference.
Yeah, because, especially with, with the offense, the offense that Marion Central has, been able to put out there, especially, Richmond Burton, they had a nice win last weekend. I think you were
I witnessed that game, and I will tell people that don't know, the teams that have to defend Christian Bettencourt defensively, I wish you a lot of luck because you're going to need it. That kid is a ridiculous talent going to Clemson for a very good reason. I was in awe of some of the plays that he was able to pull off and has been doing all season. So, sometimes you look at the stat line at the end of the game and you think that, maybe they were just padding the stats a little bit there. But this was a guy that was making pass reception maybe 5 or 6 yards off the line of scrimmage and just running the defense in circles until he ended up in the end zone 60 yards later. So just a really fine player. So should be interesting to see what he's able to do in conference play now.
Absolutely. And we have another coach who has graciously joined us. We got Dave Archibald after St. Viator got a very nice win over St. Patrick tonight. So Dave, thank you so much for joining us and congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a real fight tonight. Came down. It was a 4-quarter game. So 2 years in a row here of tight finishes with St. Patrick, and it was a great growth experience for our team. We have a young team. We were able to get a couple wins by a big margin the last 2 weeks, and then this one went down to the wire.
Quite the interesting rivalry you're building with St. Patrick. It's gone your way the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's been a great game, for many years, and there's a lot of parity in that purple division, the last few years, and it's been great. Yeah, some solid games.
So over the last couple of weeks, it feels like you kind of maybe have caught your stride a little bit.
Yeah, so last year after the team that made the 5A bracket, we lost 25 seniors last year, which is a good number for a school our size. And so we knew we were going to be a younger team this year. We've had some seniors just work extremely hard and they're leading the way. But also, tonight we started 14 underclassmen, so we have a lot of young talent. And I think the great thing about these last couple weeks is that we just got to see growth. We were able to put a team away in week 2, and then last week had we thought we really were anticipating a really tight game last week, and we played well out of the gate and won the turnover battle well. in the Marian Catholic game. And then tonight, it was another, again, a piece of growth for our team here, another opportunity for growth in that, it was a back and forth game. We'd take a lead, they'd tie it up, did that again and again. So I think it's a good thing for a young team to go through that, just to experience the growth from it.
Running through the gauntlet that is your league. I mean, being 3-1 after 4 games helps you breathe a little easier and sleep a little bit easier when you hit the pillow at night.
Well, it's just great. I mean, it's great to see him win. I mean, anybody who looks at our league, and I know, Steve, we've had so many great talks in the years. I mean, you know what our league is like. I mean, just to be in games in our league, you have to play solid football. Like, it's, if you're not playing solid football, you're not gonna hang with anybody in our league. So, it's a different deal. We sometimes have teams that come out of our league that are 2-7 that are every bit worthy of being in the playoff bracket. It's just the nature of what our schedules can be like. So yeah, for this team to get win 3 is awesome, especially with the youth we have. That we're, like I said, that we're seeing develop. But the other things, obviously, we have a major gauntlet ahead. So there's no, that every single week we go Brother Rice, Carmel, Montini, St. Ignatius the next 4 weeks. So everything's a huge battle, and but at the same time we're proud of the guys because we are seeing the growth, and they're learning what it takes to win games in our league.
All right, Coach. Well, again, congratulations on the big win tonight. Really do appreciate you spending some time with us, and good luck the rest of the way, and good luck next week.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Coach.
it. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys.
All right, thank you. That was Dave Archibald, head coach for St. Viator, getting a big win over St. Patrick. By the way, I've been watching for IC Catholic and Nazareth updates. So about a minute ago, looking from the IC Catholic football Twitter, it says the 2-point try is good. Time to play defense now. So I'm pretty sure that it looks like Joey Gliotta ended up getting the touchdown there, and they also got the 2-point conversion. So now they have to try and stop Nazareth in order to put the game away.
Yeah, it's definitely been an adventure. This game's had pretty much all of it at this point in time, including a power outage. So you can't really ask for much more. And now we're going to see if Nazareth has an answer to this.
So, and I literally just got an update about just right now. Touchdown Nazareth.
Yep.
So but they do still have to. Now,
they got to convert the 2.
Yeah,
I mean, they got to convert the 2 to force it. So that should be interesting to see whether or not what they do here there. Always kind of tricky when you get down to that conversion type of situation. If you're not a team that regularly goes for 2, and I don't believe that Nazareth usually is. So see what kind of play they have in their bag here.
Yeah. So we'll keep it here for you. We'll try to keep up on the scoring updates as much as possible. But again, IC Catholic getting a touchdown, getting the 2-point conversion, and then moments later, it seemed like Nazareth got a touchdown of its own, so it's going to need to convert on the 2-point conversion as well. While we're waiting for some more updates, because I think this is basically the game that we're really trying to we're really trying to see what happens. Has there been anything else about tonight that's really stood out to you?
There have been a lot of games that have surprised me a little bit, but a few of them that we went over them just recently. Joliet West win over Plainfield North was pretty surprising to me. Lincoln Way West continuing to fight their way through and get that win over Lincoln Way Central. Pretty big deal in the grand scheme of things. Sandburg, that win over Lockport, really kind of a standout win for them, to be honest with you. Lockport comes into that game at 3-0, is really playing well. So for Sandburg to come in there and pick off that win, you got to pay attention to that. That gets Sandburg to 3-1. I'm assuming, I haven't seen the final, I'm assuming that Lincoln Way East also won. So what you're looking at the top of that conference, we were talking about it before, you've got a 4-0 Lincoln Way East. You've got a 3-1 Lockport now, who just lost to a 3-1 Sandburg team. Bolingbrook is 3-1, and in last place, air quotes, Homewood Flossmoor, they're 2-2. So that's what you're talking about in that conference. Super strong group of 5 teams right there. All 5 of them look like they're capable of being playoff teams, but the math probably doesn't work. There's going to probably be someone that's going to be left out in the cold when we're done with all those conference games.
Lots of excitement here on Live with Friday Night Drive, but I will say we're going to go ahead and hit our another commercial break here, but we will be back to wrap things up and our final thoughts here on Live with Friday Night Drive.
Need a roof, vinyl windows, or doors? Call R.E. Duchesne Construction. With an A-plus rating for the Better Business Bureau and servicing Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties, call R.E. Duchesne. 815-722-2821. Financing available. Find out more online at reduchene.com.
I like Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
Come to Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce. Dine in, carry out, and catering available. Located in Rock Falls and Sterling, Illinois, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try our original Chicken George today.
Need a roof, vinyl windows, or doors? Call R.E. Duchesne Construction. With an A-plus rating for the Better Business Bureau and servicing Will, Grundy, and Kendall counties, call R.E. Duchesne. 815-722-2821. Financing available. Find out more online at reduchene.com.
I like Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
Come to Candlelight Inn, home of the original Chicken George and Jan Sauce. Dine in, carry out, and catering available. Located in Rock Falls and Sterling, Illinois, as well as Clinton, Iowa. Come try our original Chicken George today.
Need a roof, vinyl window?
And we are back with Live with Friday Night Drive. Again, I'm Jimmy Musial alongside Steve Soucie. It looks like we actually have we've got another coach in here. It looks like we have David Woodburn from Lincoln Way Central here to talk a little bit about the game. Coach, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, kind of a tough one tonight, Coach. It felt like you were on the right track in the second half after kind of a rough first half, but weren't able to quite finish it off, were you?
No, we didn't come out ready to go, so we didn't have our guys. I guess we didn't have our guys prepared, and had a pretty decent second half, and then gave up a tough end zone touchdown in overtime.
What was the issue for you in the first half? Just kind of flat and just not kind of all on the same page, or what was going on?
I can't talk offensively too much because I haven't seen the film, but defensively we were flat. We weren't getting off the ball a little bit, and I think I don't think we came ready to go. We had to make a few adjustments as far as our front looked and so forth, but they came ready to go. They got off the football, and we didn't. That was really it. I mean, they were getting off the ball and we weren't.
Yeah, this game is always interesting. It's a district rivalry game, and both sides kind of get up for it. They maybe just had a little bit more spark than you.
I suppose I'm going to have to watch the game film a little bit, but from what we saw, they were just hitting us with what we thought they were going to hit us with, and we didn't play the same defense I thought that we played the past 3 weeks. Tough one to swallow for sure.
Just got to get back.
I think we might have been a little overconfident too. I think we might have been reading some newspapers or something. So who knows?
Got to get back on the horse and regroup. But I mean, you never like to lose one, but maybe the wake up call was needed. You think?
I don't ever want to say we needed it. I just think I think we're going to build off what we did in the second half. We know that we're a good football team. We just lost to a really good football team. Never okay, but I'm proud of the fact that we didn't give up and we fought back and certainly got ourselves in a position to win the game. Now we got to know that we're not good enough to not play a full 4-quarter game against every opponent that we have left is good. So
All right. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us and talking about the game a little bit. We truly do appreciate your time, and we hope that you have a good rest of your night and good luck in week 5.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, always a tough one.
Yeah,
that's I mean, especially losing that one in overtime. But I mean, hey, they're two really tough football teams duking it out, and
got an update on IC Catholic Nazareth here.
There we go.
Logan Malachuk scores from 1 yard out, but Nazareth does not convert the 2-point play. IC Catholic a 36-34 winner in overtime.
Okay, so what does that mean for IC Catholic, and what does that mean for Nazareth?
Well, IC Catholic obviously in great shape now at 4-0. I mean, really fundamentally to get themselves back in the playoffs, they need one more. That's all. And Naz now got to win everything. Got to win everything the rest of the way. I mean, they would hypothetically get in, as a 5-win team. You don't even have to discuss it because of the schedule strength, but they literally have to win every single one of them. Because I mean, I think we may have some 4-win teams get in the playoffs. I don't think they want to bank on that. So that's obviously a heavy mountain to climb with their remaining schedule. There are some ridiculously good football teams left on their schedule. So Nazareth's playoff hopes are slim. I'm not going to say none. I won't do it, but they are very slim. So that's the 5-second explanation on what the playoff status is for those two clubs. But crazy night in the Catholic League. That would kind of be what I would take as the overriding thought of week 4. Some teams that I didn't expect to win. For example, St. Lawrence was a team that I did not expect to win, beating Providence. The win for St. Ignatius over Marist surprised me a little bit. The resolution to this game, didn't really know where it was going to go. And obviously, razor-thin difference between these two teams. And Montini's win over Bennett kind of sets them up really nice. They're 4-0-2 now. Another team that has had trouble getting to 5 wins in the past, despite the fact that they're a good program and a good team. All they need is one more. So a lot of interesting movement in the Catholic League tonight.
Absolutely. By the way, I have another final that we were paying attention to. Marengo ends up getting the 25-18 win over Johnsburg. So that is a very nice comeback win for Marengo.
Marengo needed that. We were talking about that before in a situation where they had a couple of early losses here. Getting back to the 500 mark was a big key for them.
Yeah, definitely. So big win for Marengo, big win for IC Catholic. This has been another great night.
Yep.
Week 4, things starting to kind of mold a little bit more, so you have an understanding of what to expect going forward. But it's been a really fun night. We're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Before we do, and we have a nice little highlight reel to show you some great things that have been happening throughout the night. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
I didn't really know what to expect from week 4, but we had so many games that came down to the wire, and I was using a lot of these games as kind of measuring stick. So we had a lot of I don't want to be one of those guys that says I got to break down the tape. I don't really know yet, but there were a lot of games that gave me a lot of pause as I was kind of flashing through the scores. I don't know what that means yet, but it means something. And I'm interested to kind of dig into those scores a little bit more when I have a little bit more time to look at them. But there were some results out there that kind of, I think, might have changed our landscape a little bit in terms of who might get in, who might not, and then who are some of the teams that are actually going to filter towards the top of some of these classifications.
All right. Well, there you have it. Live with Friday Night Drive. I'm Jimmy Musial. We actually, hold on one second. I just saw that we have looks like we have another coach who is in here with us. It's Liam Kerwin from Marion Central. We certainly would love to have him on here. So Coach, great to have you with us. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much. Yeah, sorry I'm getting on here late. Just a couple crazy things going on over here.
Crazy homecoming week for you, Coach. I know you were focused on just getting through this week alive.
Oh yeah, 100%. Kids, all that stuff. But we made through the distractions. Luckily, got that homecoming victory tonight. Made it a little more interesting than I like it, but we made the plays when we needed to.
I was kind of following along with this game tonight. It looked like you kind of broke away in the second half a little bit. I mean, what was the key to kind of getting free of Chicago Christian tonight?
Yeah, it was we felt really good about we felt really good about one sec, sorry, something's going on here. But we felt really good about the first half, and then all of a sudden, Chicago Christian never gave up, and that's exactly what we expected. They came back a little bit there in the second half, gave up a fake punt for a touchdown, and then luckily made the right plays down the stretch after a couple mistakes here and there.
Got you back to 2-2 tonight. I know that was kind of the focus this week, but 2-0 in league play more importantly. So got to feel good about where you're at right now.
Yes, definitely. In this brand new conference, a lot of new teams that we haven't played before. Some teams a little bit of familiarity, but to be at 2-0 after an 0-2 start, we're in the fight. 2-2, you're right there in the fight. Can't overlook anybody, like I told you last week, but definitely in the middle of the fight, and that's exactly where we want to be. And hopefully we can keep it going, and even opportunity potentially at a conference crown. But that's a long way from now. It's just 1-0 every week is what we're trying to do.
All right, Coach. Well, congratulations again on the big win tonight. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope you enjoy yourself for the rest of the night.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for all you do.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Okay, so that was head coach Liam Kerwin. Marion Central getting a nice win over Chicago Christian, and with that, I will say that we can actually go ahead and wrap up our show. I want to go ahead and again thank all of the sponsors for tonight, especially SGKR Law, also Candlelight Inn, and RE Duchesne Construction. Again, a crazy week 4, but we want to go ahead and end it on a highlight reel with a lot of moments that have been happening throughout the night. So we hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And thank you again for being with us here for week 4 on Live with Friday Night Drive. We'll see you next week.
Signaled. That's a touchdown. Late signal.
Quarterback is sacked by number 53, Nolan Glenn. Griffin.